photo 624 sit and I'm sitting here, okay? Boy, I sure do hope this story doesn't have a scary in it. Oh my god, we have double.
And I want you all to know right now, um, when I was about to say off the record, but I suppose this is about as on the record as it gets, considering I'm live. I want you all to know the only thing stopping me right now from full 180 pivoting the stream and just starting a Gubble stream, playing Gubble on stream, instead of doing the thing that I wanted to do and said I was going to do today, is the fact that I don't have it downloaded right now, and also maybe I never bought it yet. Hi, everyone. I'm just gonna slap on some fucking copyright-free music I found on YouTube because I couldn't think of a playlist to make myself in time for stream, so I just found some shit. It's some random jazz type stuff. Hopefully it's good. I mean, if it's bad, I guess we can just chuck it and listen to my normal music, but it'll be funny if Super Mario music comes up for Dracula, you know? But hi. Hi, welcome. We are here, of course, to, as you all know... Hang on just a sec, something's being uncooperative on my end. We are, of course, here to play with our Grendels. So, it's time for Chapter 15 of Dracula. I made myself a little tea before stream, because I was like, I should probably have some nice, hot, soothing drink on hand to help with the fact that I'm probably going to be, you know, like, speaking out loud and reading out loud for a good, couple hours after a recording session last night. That was also a good couple hours, and I would like it if my throat didn't die. So, here we are. It was, I want to say it was a... What is it, a chamomile? A chamomile? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I should have looked that up. Which I've never actually tried before, funny enough. I was kind of thinking, like, that's a common type of tea. I've surely had that before, right? And having tasted it, no, I don't think I have, but also having tasted it, it's nice. I like it. We got a bunch of different loose leaf teas from an aunt of mine for the holidays. And my ma and my pa.
Oh, chamomile tea is so delightful.
It is.
Please enjoy Sharmo's meal.
Thank you, I will. I had a nice little meal of, I made a little tuna salad and some crackers, put a bunch of veggies in it. It was good, and I made myself my little tea to help with that. And it was nice, and now I'm all charged up and ready to Dracula. What was I saying? Right, we got like a bunch of like loose leaf teas for the holidays from an aunt of mine. And my mom and dad, they're not really super adventurous when it comes to like trying different beverages in that regard. They like the stuff that they like, and they tend to stick to it, so they usually have like a little bit of stuff like this and then just go like, okay, you can have the rest. So I have a lot of different little drinks to try, which I'm excited about. Excuse me. And it's nice to, you know, have my little tea strainer thing that I pour the water over and wait for it to go. It feels nice. It's a fun little ritual, you know? I guess before we start, let's shout out people that subscribed and stuff. We had Roxas for 43 months. Thank you very much. Desk Sphinx for 17 months. Thank you very much. Man, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked again. Fucking speaking of Roxas, as in ROXAS, the Kingdom Hearts, not ROXIS, the subscriber. Thank you for your patronage. I've been like going through the different things that I said I was gonna do from like my subathon last year, deciding like, okay, what can I do when can I start these things, what's a bigger commitment that I should do later, that sort of stuff. And Kingdom Hearts was one of them. And, that's gonna be a long-ass commitment, so I'm telling myself I should probably do this at a later date when I have more time and energy to dedicate to it. But for some fucking reason, it feels like I've been bit by a bug. Like I've been bit by a Dracula, and so I keep thinking about it. I keep fucking thinking about it. That's what I'm hoping to do with Puz, with my wife, who is, you know, in her final semester of grad school. So, the main thing preventing me from going, yeah, let's do that right now, is I would like it if my partner didn't fail their final semester of grad school. So, Kingdom Hearts 1 is honestly not that long of a game for an RPG. Right, but the way I'm thinking about it is, unless I somehow completely despise, loathe, hate, don't enjoy playing it, I'm gonna want to do the other ones. The only reason I only committed to the first one is because there's one, it's still an RPG, that's a longish video game, and two, there is a chance that I only want to try playing that one, but it leaves myself wiggle room, because I know myself. Anyways, let's go back to shouting out subscribers. Thank you again, Desk Sphinx and Roxas, for your subs. Healing Mind with 28 months. Thank you very much. Potato King Yi. Thank you very much. Unofficially Jam with 44 months. Thank you. Duke of Hammer. Good username. With 38 months. Thank you very much. And Medibot for 44 months. Thank you very much. Excited to see the Kingdom Hearts stream whenever it happens. Oh, thank you. I'm also looking forward to it, quite frankly. But also, there are quite a number of things that I need to do still that I said I was going to do stream-wise. That we'll get around to eventually, but I would like to get those out of the way first. I'm going to turn the music down a little bit more. There we go. I don't want to be fighting the sound of the music. There we go. Any other housekeeping, shopkeeping, bookkeeping, ant-keeping stuff I gotta get out of the way? Hi. I'm gonna try and do another Dracula stream this week, probably on Thursday. Probably on Thursday morning, afternoon. Because I really want to get back to it and read more. And probably streams Friday and this weekend, but we'll see how I'm doing. We'll see how I'm doing. We'll see how things shake out. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. February's almost here. That's kind of fucked, isn't it? God damn. It feels like January just started, but no, it's been like a whole 30-ass days, huh? Really is true what they say. Time keeps on slipping into the future. I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Thank you, X215 Zimmer, for the sub.
Chance to my friends. Hell yeah.
The talk sprite doesn't really show it, but I'm clapping my hands. Let's go. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. Shouts out. Thank you for the 42-month resub. Fucking, speaking of which, a voice actor. I guess I should more aptly say a voice actress now. That did work that I really like in Warframe. Came out as a trans woman recently, and that made me smile. Good for her. You do genuinely love to see it, don't you? I would say the name, but I'm bad at remembering names. But that reminded me. Alright, I think we can get started on Dracula then. Previously, there was a bloofer lady. There was a bloofer lady. The children know all about it. The children had some nasty bites. And so Professor Van Helsing was like, so you know what's happening, right? It's not the fact that it's not that it's the same thing that bit Lucy. It's that Lucy's doing the bidding. Lucy got turned into a damn Dracula, bud. That's his working thesis at the moment, anyways. Previously. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oops. Uh-oh. Which I suppose you can say quite a bit about Dracula, can't you? And now, Chapter 15. Dr. Seward's diary continued.
I was doing more of a deeper inflection for Dr. Seward, wasn't I? It was kind of something like this, I think. For a while, sheer anger mastered me. It was as if he had, during her life, struck Lucy on the face. I smote the table hard and rose up as I said to him, "Dr. Van Helsing, are you mad?" He raised his head and looked at me. and somehow the tenderness of his face calmed me at once.
"Oh, would I were," he said. "Madness were easy to bear compared with truth like this. Oh, my friend, why, think you, did I go so far round? Why take so long to tell you so simple a thing?"
Pardon me. I gotta get back into doing that voice right so I don't feel so scratchy on the throat. What was the range I was doing for that? It was
sort of a growl, sort of a grumble, but not too hard in the back of the throat to irritate it. Something like this. "Was it because I hate you and have hated you all my life? Was it because I wished to give you pain? Was it that I wanted now so late revenge for that time when you saved my life and from a fearful death? Ah, no!"
Forgive me, said I. He went on.
"My friend."
He was smoking a cigar at the time and started choking on it? Awesome.
"My friend. It was because I wished to be gentle in the breaking to you, for I know you have loved that so sweet lady. But even yet I do not expect you to believe. It is so hard to accept at once any abstract truth, that we may doubt such to be possible when we have always believed the no of it. It is more hard still to accept so sad a concrete truth, and such a one as Miss Lucy. Tonight, I go to prove it. Dare you come with me?"
This staggered me. A man does not like to prove such a truth. Byron accepted from the category jealously, and prove the very truth he most abhorred. He saw my hesitation and spoke.
"The logic is simple. No madman's logic this time, jumping from tussock to tussock in a misty bog. If it be not true, then proof will be relief. At worst, it will not harm. If it be true, there is the dread. Yet very dread should help my cause, for in it is some need of belief. Come, I tell you what I propose. First, that we go off now and see that child in the hospital. Dr. Vincent of the North Hospital, where the papers say the child is friend of mine. And I think of yours, since you were in class at Amsterdam. He will let 2 scientists see his case, if he will not let 2 friends. We shall tell him nothing, but only that we wish to learn. And then...
And then? He took a key from his pocket and held it up.
And then we spend the night, you and I, in the churchyard where Lucy lies. This is the key that locked the tomb. I had it from the coffin man to give to Arthur."
My heart sank within me, for I felt that there was some fearful ordeal before us. I could do nothing, however, so I plucked up what heart I could and said that we had better hasten as the afternoon was passing. We found the child awake. It had had a sleep and taken some food and...
It? So impersonal for this poor child that done got bit by a bloofer lady. I'm just reading Dracula? Yeah, what do you mean? I've been doing this for months. Granted, I do see you are a first-time chatter, so it is possible this is your first time hearing about it, in which case, welcome. I've been reading Dracula. We're on chapter 15.
It had had a sleep and taken some food, and altogether was going on well. Dr. Vincent took the bandage from its throat and showed us the punctures. There was no mistaking the similarity to those which had been on Lucy's throat. They were smaller, and the edges looked fresher, and that was all. We asked Vintins...
Vintins? Get her ass.
We asked Vincent to what he attributed them, and he replied that it must have been a bite of some animal, perhaps a rat.
Rat bite? A damn bad rat got her. Pronouns for children in the Anglosphere are a relatively recent invention, probably. You could be tricking and lying to me entirely, but I do believe you. a rat the size of a bloofer lady came up and bit this poor child.
But for his own part, he was inclined to think it was one of the bats which are so numerous on the northern heights of London. Out of so many harmless ones, he said, there may be some wild specimen from the south of a more malignant species. Some sailor may have brought one home and had managed to escape, or even from the zoological gardens a young one may have got loose, or one be bred there from a vampire. These things do occur, you know. Only 10 days ago a wolf got out, and was, I believe, traced up in this direction. Or a week after, the children were playing nothing but Red Riding Hood on the heath, and in every alley in the place until this bloofer lady scare came along. Since when it has been quite a gala time with them. Even this poor little mite, when he woke up today, asked the nurse if he might go away. When she asked him why he wanted to go, he said he wanted to play with this bloofer lady.
They're out here getting Dracula'd by a beautiful woman, and they're like, no, honest, I feel fine. Can you let me out? Can I go see a beautiful woman again? I'm like 6. I don't understand the ramifications here, man. I just want to play. Make a tissue paper for the 22-month resub.
Hey, 22. 22 evil bats appear in your house.
Man, I fucking hope not. That'd be a pain to clean out. Thank you for the resub. I appreciate it.
I hope, said Van Helsing, that when you are sending the child home, you will caution its parents to keep strict watch over it. These fancies to stray are most dangerous, and if the child were to remain out another night, it would probably be fatal. But in any case, I suppose you will not let it away for some days.
Certainly not. Not for a week at least. Longer if the wound is not healed. Our visit to the hospital took more time than we had reckoned on, and the sun had dipped before we came out. When Van Helsing saw how dark it was, he said,
There is no hurry. It is more late than I thought. Come, let us seek somewhere that we may eat, and then we shall go on our way.
We dined at
Jack Straw's Castle. They're doing it because it's like a proper name. It's literally the thing I do. But it being in quotes here is very funny to me. the well-known, beloved institution that we all know by name that must be given its due reverence. Jack Straw's Castle. And we're all going there. And we're all going there. And we're all getting the delicious meal. We're all getting the delicious Jack Straw's box of tacos or whatever they have. What the fuck do they have at Jack in the Box?
Jack Straw's Castle is lots of fun.
What the is Jack Straw's Castle like a real historical actual thing, or did they just make this up? If you know, you can tell me. Sound off in the comments if you know.
We dined at Jack Straw's Castle, along with a little crowd of bicyclists and others who were genially noisy.
It is a real place? You could be tricking me, but I believe you.
About 10 o'clock, we started from the inn. It was then very dark, and scattered lamps made the darkness greater when we were once outside their individual radius.
Radius? Radius.
The professor had evidently noted the road we were to go, for he went on unhesitatingly. But as for me, I was in quite a mix-up as to locality.
It's a real pub in Hampstead? Oh, neat. Now is this a historical one, or is this they made this after Dracula? It's where Jack Straw, leader of the 1831 Peasants' Rebellion, sheltered. They named a restaurant after him when he was executed. Huh. Neat. I'm learning so much about historical Draculas.
As we went further, we met fewer and fewer people, till at last we were somewhat surprised when we met even the patrol of horse police going their usual suburban round. At last, we...
Oh, hang on, where was that line? I lost my text immediately. Charles Dickens was known to visit the pub, describing it as a place where he could get a red-hot chop for dinner. What is a red-hot chop? I mean, it's probably a pork chop or a lamb chop or some other chop cut of an animal. Hot. So not cold. Cooked well. Red hot chop is his ability where he sets his hand on fire and goes in for the kill. A striking lunge right to the throat that burns you alive. It costs 80 MP, exactly. It's quite a commitment of a move, but once you get it off, it's good. It closed in 2002 and was converted to luxury apartments? Man. Man. We can't have anything good. We can't have anything good in this Dracula cursed world.
As we went further, we met fewer and fewer people, till at last we were...
I read that one. Okay, here we are.
At last we reached the wall of the churchyard, which we climbed over. With some little difficulty, for it was very dark and the whole place seemed so strange to us, we found the western tomb. The professor took the key, opened the creaky door, and, standing back, politely but quite unconsciously, motioned me to precede him. There was a delicious irony in the offer, in the courtliness of giving preference on such a ghastly occasion. My companion followed me quickly and cautiously drew the door to, after carefully ascertaining that the lock was a falling and not a spring one.
I thought it said failing for some reason and I stumbled there.
In the latter case, we should have been in a bad plight. Then he fumbled in his bag. Yo!
Dr. Van Helsing fumbled the bag! Is this anything? You can clap and laugh if you want.
And taking out a matchbox and a piece of candle, proceeded to make a light. The tomb in the daytime, and when wreathed with fresh flowers, had looked grim and gruesome enough. But now, some days afterwards, when the flowers hung lank and dead, their whites turning to rust and their greens to browns, when the spider and the beetle had resumed their accustomed dominance, when time-discolored stone and dust-encrusted mortar, and rusty, dank iron and tarnished brass and clouded silver plating gave back the feeble glimmer of a candle, the effect was more miserable and sordid than could have been imagined. It conveyed irresistibly that idea of life, animal life. It was not the only thing which could pass away. Van Helsing went about his work systematically, holding his candle so that he could read the coffin plates, and so holding it that the sperm dropped in...
Don't call it that! Don't call it that, man!
Dropped in white patches which congealed as they touched the metal. He made assurance of Lucy's coffin. Another search in his bag, and he took out a turnscrew. "What are you going to do?" I asked.
"To open the coffin. You shall yet be convinced."
"You can't be saying that, white baby." Straight away, he began taking out the screws and finally lifted off the lid, showing the casings of lead beneath. The sight was almost too much for me. It seemed to be as much an affront to the dead as it would have been to have stripped off her clothing in her sleep whilst living. I actually took hold of his hands to stop him. He only said,
"You shall see,"
and again, fumbling in his bag, took out a tiny fret saw. Striking the turnscrew through the lead with a swift downward stab, which made me wince, he made a small hole, which was, however, big enough to admit the point of the saw. I had expected a rush of gas from the weak old corpse. We doctors, who have had to study our dangers, have become accustomed to such things, and I drew back towards the door. But the professor never stopped for a moment. He sawed down a couple of feet along one side of the lead coffin, and then across and down the other side.
This man is remarkably adept at, like, hacking open and plundering a coffin. Kinda makes a gal wonder. Kinda makes a gal wonder.
Taking the edge off the loose flange, he bent it back towards the foot of the coffin, and, holding up the candle into the aperture, motioned to me to look.
How do you think he got through medical school? Same way as anyone, with time and hard work and a lot of gumption? I don't know enough about med school, especially not med school in this day and age. Is this the norm to plunder coffins, to go tomb raiding?
I drew near and looked. The coffin was empty. It was certainly a surprise to me, and gave me a considerable shock, but Van Helsing was unmoved. He was now more sure than ever of his ground, and so emboldened to proceed in his task.
"Are you satisfied now, friend John?"
he asked. I felt all the dogged argumentativeness of my nature awaken within me as I answered him. I am satisfied that Lucy's body is not in that coffin, but that only proves one thing.
"And what is that, friend John?"
"That it is not there."
"That is good logic," he said, "so far as it goes. But how can you, account for it not being there?"
Perhaps a body snatcher, I suggested. Some of the Undertaker's people may have stolen it. I felt that I was speaking folly, and yet it was the only real cause which I could suggest. The professor sighed.
"Ah, well," he said, "we must have more proof. Come with me."
Dude, the fucking body getters the fucking getter broke in and took her away. It's that easy.
He put on the coffin lid again, gathered up all his things, and placed them in the bag, blew out the light, and placed the candle also in the bag. We opened the door and went out. Behind us he closed the door and locked it. He handed me the key, saying,
"Will you keep it? You had better be assured."
I laughed. It was not a very cheerful laugh, I am bound to say, as I motioned him to keep it. "A key is nothing," I said. "There may be duplicates, and anyhow, it is not difficult to pick a lock of that kind."
This man is also out here knowing about lockpicking? What the fuck is med school like? Thank you, Prototypical, for the 35-month resub. Much appreciated. There's 35 Daculars now. I was about to say, Simpleton, my envisioning now of med school is like, this is the fucking Thieves Guild. They're like, alright, now for your thesis. Explain to me in great detail who the Grey Fox is. And like, every single one of their theses is just like, I am the Grey Fox. No, I am the Grey Fox. No, I am the Grey Fox. And they all simultaneously pass and fail because their professor is the Grey Fox. And stole all of the bodies. Locks were not very complicated back then either. By today's standards, sure, but I guess back then it was all they had, so to some degree people probably thought like, damn, that's about as good as a lock can get. Unless you knew, in which case, no.
He said nothing, but put the key in his pocket. Then he told me to watch at one side of the churchyard whilst he would watch the other. Took up my place behind a yew tree, and I saw his dark figure move until the intervening headstones and trees hid it from my sight. It was a lonely vigil. Just after I had taken my place, I heard a distant clock strike 12, and in time came 1 and 2. I was chilled and unnerved, and angry with the professor for taking me on such an errand, and with myself for coming. I was too cold and too sleepy to be keenly observant.
I was too sleepy. I don't know what it is about the word sleepy specifically being used here. That is so fucking funny to me. In this era of England, it was impossible to get bodies from medical schools to practice on, so it was very common for med students to straight up raid graveyards. Huh. Interesting.
Dude, I was honestly so sleepy tired, and I really wanted nappy wappy. I needed to get crawled up in bed like a damn bug. Ugh, but this rude dude has me out here watching dead bodies that aren't there. Man, my life basically sucks. Aww. Aww.
It's so cutesy after, like, everything else. After, like, his entire way of, like, writing and speaking up to this point, it's so fucking funny that he's using the word sleepy. That's awesome. No raid is an actual word, but you like the idea of Old English med students gearing up to hit up the graveyard dungeon? You've got your entire med school class, and they're just like, dude, why aren't you fucking tanking the guards? We're out here trying to steal the bodies. Get aggro or I feed. We're gonna wipe! Where was I? Right, sleepy.
I was too cold and too sleepy to be keenly observant, and not sleepy enough to betray my trust so altogether. I had a dreary, miserable time. Suddenly, as I turned around, I thought I saw something like a white streak, moving between two dark yew trees at the side of the churchyard and farthest from the tomb. At the same time, I saw a dark mass move from the professor's side of the ground, and hurriedly went towards it. Then I too moved, but I had to go around headstones and rail off tombs, and I stumbled over graves. The sky was overcast, and somewhere far off an early cock crew.
Damn! The candle seaman, the cock crew, the white streak. What the fuck are these two up to tonight? I know the rituals are intricate, but like, come on.
A little way off, beyond a line of scattered juniper trees which marked the pathway to the church, a white, dim figure flitted in the direction of the tomb. The tomb itself was hidden by trees, and I could not see where the figure disappeared. I heard the rustle of actual movement where I had first seen the white figure, and coming over, found the professor holding in his arms a tiny child. When he saw me, he held it out to me and said,
"Are you satisfied now?"
"No," I said, in a way that I felt was aggressive. "No?"
No?
Hotel Mario ass no.
Do you not see the child?
"Yes, it is a child, but who brought it here? And is it wounded?" I asked.
We shall see,
said the professor, and with one impulse we took our way out of the churchyard, he carrying the sleeping child. When we had got some little distance away, we went into a clump of trees and struck a match, and looked at the child's throat. It was without a scratch or scar of any kind. "Was I right?" I asked triumphantly.
"We were just in time,"
said the professor thankfully. We had now to decide what we were to do with the child, and so consulted about it. If we were to take it to a police station, we should have to give some account of our movements during the night.
Yeah, hey coppers, we found this poor child all alone. Luckily it's doing okay. Oh yeah, that's a good thing you found it. Say, what were you doing out there, by the way? Oh, you know, not grave robbing. Not skulking around, busting into someone's tomb. Damn, good enough for me. Sounds really not suspicious. Something seems wrong with this child deeply, and by the way, we didn't do any of it. We didn't do any of that stuff, sir.
We should have to give some account of our movements during the night. At least we should have had to make some statement as to how we had come to find the child. So finally, we decided that we would take it to the heath, and when we heard a policeman coming, would leave it where he could not fail to find it. We would then seek our way home as quickly as we could. All fell out well. At the edge of Hampstead Heath, we heard a policeman's heavy tramp, and laying the child on the pathway, we waited and watched until he saw it, as he flashed his lantern to and fro. We heard his exclamation of astonishment, and then we went away silently. By good chance, we got a cab near the Spaniards and drove to town. I cannot sleep, so I make this entry. But I must try to get a few hours' sleep, as Van Helsing is to call for me at noon. He insists that I shall go with him on another expedition. 27th of September. It was 2 o'clock before we found a suitable opportunity for our attempt. The funeral, held at noon, was all completed, and the last stragglers of the mourners had taken themselves lazily away, when, looking carefully from behind a clump of alder trees, we saw the sexton lock the gate after him.
They're making this too easy for me. It's honestly a problem. It's honestly a problem.
We knew then that we were safe till morning did we desire it. But the professor told me that we should not want more than an hour at most. Again, I felt that horrid sense of the reality of things, in which any effort of imagination seemed out of place. And I realized distinctly the perils of the law which we were incurring in our unhallowed work. Dude, if someone sees us doing this, we're fucked. Besides, I felt it was all so useless. Outrageous as it was to open a leaden coffin to see if a woman dead nearly a week was really dead, it now seemed the height of folly to open the tomb again, when we knew, from the evidence of our own eyesight, that the coffin was empty. I shrugged my shoulders, however, and rested silent. For Van Helsing had a way of going on his own road, no matter who remonstrated.
Remonstrated? Remonstrated? I'm never quite sure how to pronounce that word, and people could tell me, but I'm literally never going to remember.
He took the key, opened the vault, and again courteously motioned me to proceed. The place was not so gruesome as last night, but oh, how unutterably mean-looking when the sunshine steamed in. Van Helsing walked over to Lucy's coffin, and I followed. He bent over.
Come on, man. Get it together, Holly.
And again forced back the leaden flange. And then a shock of surprise and dismay shot through me. There lay Lucy.
Do not fuck that old man. I mean, out of all the old men in this story, aside from Dracula, arguably, I'm just saying, the options are slim, and this is about one of your best ones. Anyways, Lucy is back.
There lay Lucy, seemingly just as we had seen her the night before her funeral. She was, if possible, more radiantly beautiful than ever. And I could not believe that she was dead. The lips were red, nay, redder than before, and on the cheeks was a delicate bloom. "Is this a juggle?" I said to him.
"Are you convinced now?"
said the professor in response, and as he spoke he put over his hand, and in a way that made me shudder, pulled back the dead lips and showed the white teeth.
I have to assume, is this a juggle, is like old-timey slang for like, is this a trick? I can like kind of guess as to what the exact like usage and meaning of that is, given like, you know, jugglers, circus folk, tricksters, clowns.
Are you learning me how to do a fucking infinite right now? Is this a command grab, man?
"See," he went on. "See, they are even sharper than before. With this and this."
And he touched one of the canine teeth and that below it.
"The little children can be bitten. Are you of belief now, friend John?"
Once more, argumentative hostility woke within me. I could not accept such an overwhelming idea as he suggested. So, with an attempt to argue of which I was even at the moment ashamed, I said, "She may have been placed here since last night."
"Indeed? That is so. And by whom?"
I do not know. Someone has done it.
"And yet she has been dead 1 week. Most peoples in that time would not look so."
I had no answer for this, and so was silent. Van Helsing did not seem to notice my silence, at any rate. He showed neither chagrin nor triumph. He was looking intent.
See, this dude is like, this is an argument that I have to win with this dude. And Van Helsing is like, dude, there's a fucking Dracula mystery that we're trying to uncover here. There's more important things than any of our egos. I'm not paying attention to that at all. Van Helsing rules. I fucking love him. What a fun character. What a good character. Let's see. There we go.
He was looking intently at the face of the dead woman, raising the eyelids and looking at the eyes, and once more opening the lips and examining the teeth. Then he turned to me and said,
"Here, there is one thing which is different from all recorded. Here is some dual life that is not as the common. She was bitten by the vampire when she was in a trance, sleepwalking. Oh, you start, you do not know that, friend John, but you shall know it all later. And in trance could he best come to take more blood. In trance she died, and in trance she is undead too. So it is that she differ from all other. Usually when the undead sleep at home..."
As he spoke, he made a comprehensive sweep of his arm to designate to a vampire what to a vampire was home.
"Their face show what they are. But this so sweet that was when she not undead. She go back to the nothings of the common dead. There is no malign there, see? And so it make hard that I must kill her in her sleep."
This turned my blood cold, and it began to dawn upon me that I was accepting Van Helsing's theories. What if she really was dead? What was there of terror in the idea of killing her? He looked up at me and evidently saw the change in my face, for he said almost joyously,
"Ah! You believe me now!"
I answered, "Do not press me too hard all at once. I am willing to accept. How will you do this bloody work?"
"I shall cut off her head and fill her mouth with garlic, and I shall drive a stake through her body."
It made me shudder to think of so mutilating the body of the woman whom I had loved. And yet the feeling was not so strong as I had expected. I was, in fact, beginning to shudder at the presence of this being, this undead, as Van Helsing called it, and to loathe it. Is it possible that love is all subjective or all objective? I waited a considerable time for Van Helsing to begin, but he stood as if wrapped in thought. Presently, he closed the catch of his bag with a snap, and said,
"I have been thinking, and have made up my mind as to what is best. If I did simply follow my inclining, I would do now, at this moment, what is to be done. But there are other things to follow, and things that are 1,000 times more difficult in that them we do not know. This is simple. She have yet no life taken, though that is of time, and to act now would be to take danger from her forever. But then we may have to want Arthur, and how shall we tell him of this? How shall we tell him of this? If you, who saw the wounds on Lucy's throat, and saw the wounds so similar on the child's at the hospital, if you, who saw the coffin empty last night and full today, were the woman who have not changed, only to be more rose and more beautiful in a whole week after she die, if you know of this and know of the white figure last night that brought the child to the churchyard, and yet of your own senses you did not believe, how then can I expect Arthur, who know none of these things, to believe? He doubted me when I took him from her kiss when she was dying. Oh, I know he has forgiven me, because in some mistaken idea I have done things that prevent him to say goodbye as he ought. And he may think that in some more mistaken idea, this woman was buried alive, and that in most mistake of all we have killed her. He will then argue back that it is we mistaken ones that have killed her by our ideas, and so he will be much unhappy always. Yet he can never be sure, and that is the worst of all." And he will sometimes think that she has loved, that she he loved was buried alive, and that will paint his dreams with horrors of what she must have suffered. And again he will think that we may be right, and that his so beloved was, after all, undead. No! I told him once, and since then I learned much. Now, since I know it is all true, 100,000 times more I know that he must pass through the bitter waters to reach the sweet. He, poor fellow, must have 1 hour that will make the very face of heaven grow black to him. Then we can act for good all round and send him peace. My mind is made up. Let us go. You return home for tonight to your asylum, and see that all be well. As for me, I shall spend the night here in the churchyard in my own way. Tomorrow night, you will come to me to the Berkeley Hotel at 10 of the clock. I shall send for Arthur to come too, and also that so fine young man of America that gave his blood.
The cowboy is back! The cowboy is on his way back. We have a confirmed cowboy sighting en route. It's going to happen. Everyone put your hands together. Get excited. Get happy. Post your fucking yeehaws. Quincy Morris hours are soon to return. Let's go. Cowboy most fuckable bachelor in Dracula? I mean, when you look at the competition, yeah. Not to downplay him or his efforts or how he is as a person, but it's not exactly much competition now, is it? When you've got fucking Dr. C-word over here. And, you know, we've got fucking Arthur, who is actively mourning his dead fucking love of his life. I wouldn't call him eligible at the moment. He's not really emotionally available. Cowboy is your best bet, but also Cowboy is your best bet. Sorry, I got so excited about the American that I forgot where I was. Here we are.
Later, we shall all have work to do. I come with you so far as Piccadilly, and there dine, for I must be back here before the sun set.
So we locked the tomb and came away, and got over the wall of the churchyard, which was not much of a task, and drove back to Piccadilly. Note left by Van Helsing in his portmanteau. Berkeley Hotel, directed to John Seward, M.D. Not delivered. Uh-oh.
27th of September. Friend John, I write this in case anything should happen. I go alone to watch in that churchyard. It pleases me that the undead Miss Lucy shall not leave tonight, and that so on the morrow night she may be more eager. Therefore, I shall fix some things she like not, garlic and a crucifix, and so seal up the door of the tomb. She is young, undead. She is young as undead, and will heed. Moreover, these are only to prevent her coming out. They may not prevail on her wanting to get in, for then the undead is desperate, and must find the line of least resistance, whatsoever it may be. I shall be at hand all the night from sunset till after the sunrise, and if there be aught that may be learned, I shall learn it. For Miss Lucy, or from her, I have no fear. But that other to whom is there that she is undead, he have now the power to seek her tomb and find shelter. He is cunning, as I know from Mr. Jonathan, and from the way that all along he have fooled us when he played with us for Miss Lucy's life, and we lost. And in many ways the undead are strong. He have always the strength in his hand of 20 men, even we 4 who gave our strength to Miss Lucy. It is also it also is all to him. Besides, he can summon his wolf, and I know not what. So if it be that he come thither on this night, he shall find me, but none other shall, until it be too late. But it may be that he will not attempt the place. There is no reason why he should. His hunting ground is more full of game than the churchyard where the undead women sleep, and the one old man watch. Therefore, I write in this case. Take the papers that are with this, the diaries of Harker and the rest, and read them, and then find this great undead, and cut off his head and burn his heart, or drive a stake through it, so that the world may rest from him. If it be so, farewell, Van Helsing.
Second one does maybe seem a little easier than, setting the whole ass heart on fire, yeah, but hey, you've got options and they're cool as fuck. If something really fucking bad happens to me, know that I died in the name of science, and know that I died telling you to stab him in the goddamn heart. Take his head off. Love Van Helsing. Van Helsing is awesome. It's time for a break. It's time for a get up and stretch. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna see if the hot water is still hot, and maybe see if I can steep some more out of this tea. And have a bit of a pace around and look outside and look for rabbits and stuff. So get up, have a stretch, get yourself a drink or a snack if you ain't done that in a while. Because I'm just letting some ads run so we don't get ads in the middle of the actual reading. We'll be back real soon. Hey. Hi. Hello. I didn't see any rabbits. They'll probably be outside later. They like coming around. Saw 2 of them the other night. I have something that I might announce, tease, a little bit. Just for the couple of folks that have made it today out for Dracula. A fun surprise that you can't... I mean, you can tell people, but it'd be funny if it's just a secret for the Dracula folks. So I talked earlier about subathon stuff. And how I'm, you know, trying to get more of that done. And if you'll remember, one of the things... No, it's not fucking Gubble Stream. Come on. And if you'll remember, one of those things on that list was, Divorce Stream. And I'm not gonna say for sure, just because, you know, sometimes things come up, sometimes things happen, but, you might just want to save the date of February 14th, Valentine's Day. For no particular reason. Smile. Please look forward to it, or don't, unless it doesn't happen. We'll see. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here for Dracula. Not invited to the wedding as we shouldn't be. I mean, there was also Marriage Stream. Like, Marriage Stream was also very much a thing on the subathon as well. That's happening at another date. That one's still being worked out. It turns out working out the details of a marriage is quite a long process. This was a huge financial risk! Awesome! We're skipping straight to divorce? Listen, you know how these things work out.
Like a Dracula, infinite paprika.
Like a Dracula, infinite spice. Hang on, I have to pin this message because it's really good. I'm putting this one on top of the proverbial fridge. Thank you for that one, Dunmesh. Big fan of that one, and also of your comic that you are. Anyhow, I've got some more hot water. It's not as hot, but it's still kind of hot. So we're gonna let it steep a little. We're gonna let it steep a little. I've got some other tea. Some cold tea from the other night that was still in the pot, and some water, so I've got the drinks. I've got the drinks. You're making coffee? That's awesome, Peregrine. I hope you're having yourself a good day today, Peregrine, my friend. Actually, real quick, I gotta blow my nose. Let me just mute for a second. Right, because I didn't mute on Discord. You could see the little talk sprite moving its face as I was honking my damn nose. That's really funny. You made some hot cocoa, by which you mean cold cocoa, because you don't like hot drinks, but you don't want to call it chocolate milk. Why not? What's wrong with chocolate milk? just call it that. It's just the chocolate milk. Let's get back to Dr. Seward's diary.
28th of September.
Dr. Dickhead's dipshit book. Let me just move my microphone a little closer. There we go. There we go.
28th of September. It is wonderful what a good night's sleep will do for one. Yesterday, I was almost willing to accept Van Helsing's monstrous ideas. But now they seem to start out lurid before me as outrages on common sense. I have no doubt that he believes it all. I wonder if his mind can have become in any way unhinged. Surely there must be some rational explanation of all these mysterious findings, or things. Sorry, I got fixed in things. They're on different lines. I got them mashed up in my mind. Is it possible that the professor can have done it himself? He is so abnormally clever that if he went off his head, he would carry out his intent with regard to some fixed idea in a wonderful way. I am loath to think of it. And indeed, it would be almost as great a marvel as the others to find that Van Helsing was mad. But, anyhow, I shall watch him carefully. I may get some light on this mystery. 29th of September, morning. Last night, at a little before 10 o'clock, Arthur and Quincy came into Van Helsing's room. He told us all that he wanted us to do, but especially addressing himself to Arthur, as if all our wills were centered in his. He began by saying he hoped he would all come... Sorry, I read that. Let me take that again. He began by saying that he hoped we would all come with him too.
For, he said, there is a grave duty to be done there. You were doubtless surprised at my letter.
This query was directly addressed to Lord Godalming.
What fucking voice was I doing for Arthur again? Fucking... I was doing some kind of Ponzi English boy talk, wasn't I? I think. It's been a little bit. It's been a hot minute.
I was. It rather upset me for a bit. There has been so much trouble around my house of late that I could do without any more. I have been curious, too, as to what you mean, Quincy. Quincy and I talked it over, but the more we talked, the more puzzled we got. Until now, I can say for myself that I'm about up a tree as to any meaning about anything.
Me too, said Quincy Morris laconically.
Oh, said the professor. Then you are nearer the beginning, both of you, than friend John here.
Pardon me, I gotta get back into doing the voice proper, like. I take one break and I fall into the bad habits instead of the good ones that make the voice not hurt.
Who has to go a long way back before he can even get so far as to begin.
That's a very funny way of wording that. You are closer to the start than John is, who would have to run a really, really long way to get back to the start. Because he's not at the start, and he knows more. Because he knows it, and is not at the start of knowing it. That's like a fucking... That's a Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes Mojo Jojo-ass writing. That's awesome. Where was I? I lost my place. There we go.
It was evident that he recognized my return to my old doubting frame of mind without saying a word. Then, turning to the other two, he said with intense gravity,
I want your permission to do what I think good this night. It is, I know, much to ask. And when you know what it is I propose to do, you will know, and only then, how much. Therefore, may I ask that you promise me in the dark, so that afterwards, though you may be angry with me for a time, I must not disguise from myself the possibility that such may be. You shall not blame yourselves for anything.
Van Helsing is here just like, look, I know it's gonna be weird, and if I tell you now, you're not gonna believe me or let me, so just say you trust me now, and if I be the devil later, then at least I'll be an honest devil.
That's frank, anyhow, broke in Quincy. I'll answer for the professor. I don't quite see his drift, but I swear he's honest. That's good enough for me.
I thank you, sir, said Van Helsing proudly. I have done myself the honor of counting you one trusted friend. and such endorsement is dear to me.
He held out a hand, which Quincy took. Sorry, not shook. Then Arthur spoke out. Dr. Van Helsing, I don't quite like to buy a pig in a poke, as they say in Scotland. And if it be anything in which my honour as a gentleman or my faith as a Christian is concerned, I cannot make such a promise. If you can assure me that what you intend does not violate either of these two, then I give my consent at once. Though for the life of me, I cannot understand what you are driving at.
Well, I don't know how good that's gonna work out for you, Arthur. Just, especially on that second one there, but I guess also the first one.
I accept your limitation, said Van Helsing, and all I ask of you is that if you feel it necessary to condemn any act of mine, you will first consider it well and be satisfied that it does not violate your reservations.
Bought a pig in a poke is a very good phrase, yeah.
Agreed, said Arthur. That is only fair. And now that the poor parleys are over, may I ask what it is we are to do?
I want you to come with me, and to come in secret to the churchyard at Kingstead.
Arthur's face fell as he said in an amazed sort of way, Where poor Lucy is buried. The professor bowed. Arthur went on, And when there?
To enter the tomb.
Arthur stood up. Professor, are you in earnest, or is this some monstrous joke? Pardon me, I see that you are in earnest. He sat down again, but I could see he sat firmly and proudly as one who is on his dignity. There was silence, until he asked again, And when in the tomb?
To open the coffin. That is too much!
This reads like a fucking Three Stooges bit. It's just like, dude, you've got to trust me here. You've got to trust me. All right, man, I'll trust you as long as it doesn't go against any of my Christian beliefs. It's fine. All right, man, I trust you. What are we doing? We're gonna break into a graveyard. Oh, shit, you mean the one my wife is buried in? What are we gonna do there? We're gonna break into her mausoleum. What? We're gonna do fucking what? Oh, you're serious? Okay, alright, well, I trust you. Alright, then what are we gonna do? We're gonna break into her tomb. What? You gotta be fucking juggling me! They call him Grave Miser. Whatever he touched kills a drac in his clutch. He's too much. Sorry, I gotta drink some more to keep the throat feeling alright.
I am willing to be patient in all things that are reasonable, but in this, the desecration of the grave of one who...
He fairly choked with indignation. The professor looked pityingly at him.
He's giving him sad puppy dog eyes. Maybe not literally, but effectively.
If I could spare you one pang, my poor friend, he said, God knows I would. But this night our feet must tread in thorny paths, or later and forever, the feet you love must walk in paths of flame.
Arthur looked up with set white face and said, Take care, sir. Take care.
Would it not be well to hear what I have to say? Said Van Helsing. And then you will at least know the limit of my purpose. Shall I go on?
That's fair enough.
Broke in Morris. Quincy Morris is just like, now I know he's saying what he's saying is sanctimount. Is basically against unto what God is telling us. And I know he wants to do something to that place where your sweet one was buried.
But I mean, he's pretty nice. Let's hear him out. Let's hear what he's got to say. I mean, maybe he's on to something. He's a doctor, ain't he? I mean, I ain't a doctor. Let's just see where he's going with this. I mean, he was looking at you with those big sad eyes. After a pause, Van Helsing went on, evidently with an effort.
Miss Lucy is dead. Is it not so? Yes. Then there can be no wrong with her. But if she be not dead...
Arthur jumped to his feet. "Good God!" he cried.
What do you mean? Has there been any mistake? Has she been buried alive?
He groaned in anguish that not even hope could soften.
I did not say she was alive, my child. I did not think it. I go no further than to say she might be undead.
Undead? Not alive?
What do you mean? Is this all a nightmare, or what is it? There are mysteries which men can only guess at, which age by age they may only solve in part. Believe me, we are now on the verge of one, but I have not done. May I cut off the head of dead Miss Lucy?
Oh, brother!
Heavens and earth, no! Cried Arthur in a storm of passion. Not for the wide world will I consent to any mutilation of her dead body.
Dr. Van Helsing, you try me too far. What have I done to you that you should torture me so? What did that poor, sweet girl do that you should want to cast such dishonor on her grave? Are you mad to speak such things, or am I mad to listen to them? Don't dare to think more of such a desecration. I shall not give my consent to anything you do. I have a duty in protecting her grave from outrage, and by God, I shall do it! Van Helsing rose up from where he had all the time been seated, and said gravely and sternly,
My Lord Godalming, I too have a duty to do. A duty to others, a duty to you, a duty to the dead, and by God I shall do it! All I ask you now is that you come with me, that you look and listen, and if when later I make the same request you do not be more eager toward fulfillment even than I am, then I shall do my duty, whatever it may seem to me. And then, to follow of your lordship's wishes, I shall hold myself at your disposal to render an account to you, when and where you will.
His voice broke a little, and he went on with a voice full of pity, But I beseech you, do not go forth in anger with me. In a long life of acts which were often not pleasant to do, and which sometimes did wring my heart, I have never had so heavy a task as to now. Believe me, that if this time comes for you to change your mind towards me, one look from you will wipe away all this so sad hour. For I would do what a man can to save you from sorrow. Just think. For why should I give myself so much of labor and so much of sorrow? I have come here from my own land to do what I can of good, and at the first to please my friend John, and then to help a sweet young lady, whom too I came to love. For her, I am ashamed to say so much, but I say in kindness, I gave that what you gave, the blood of my veins. I gave it, I, who was not like you her lover, but only her physician and her friend. I gave to her my nights and days, before death, after death, and if my death can do her good even now, when she is the dead undead, she shall have it freely. He said this with a very grave, sweet pride, and Arthur was much affected by it. He took the old man's hand and said in a broken voice,
Oh, it is hard to think of it. And I cannot understand. But at least I shall go with you and wait.
Chapter 16. Dr. Seward's diary continued. Yay! Man, that was a good fucking, like, back and forth between them. I have to imagine fucking Dr. Seward and Quincy Morris just sitting here, like, fucking blood running cold, like, should we butt in? Should we say something? No. Let's see where he's going with this. Delivered that so well? Oh, shucks, thank you. I like to think that reading was okay for kind of a blind reading of it. Hilarious that there was a cowboy there this whole time. Yeah. At all times, at any point in this novel, remember, the cowboy could be there. The cowboy could be there. Don't ever forget it. Dr. Seward's diary continued.
It was just a quarter before 12 o'clock when we got into the churchyard over the low wall.
No mention of how well they got over it this time, which I was kind of looking forward to.
The night was dark, with occasional gleams of moonlight between the rents of the heavy clouds that scudded across the sky.
Good fucking word. Word of the day, scudded.
We all kept somehow close together, with Van Helsing slightly in front as he led the way. When we had come close to the tomb, I looked well at Arthur, for I feared that the proximity to a place laden with so sorrowful a memory would upset him. But he bore himself well. I took it that the very mystery of the proceeding was in some way a counteractant to his grief. The professor unlocked a door, and seeing a natural hesitation amongst us for various reasons, solved the difficulty by entering first himself. The rest of us followed, and he closed the door. He then lit a dark lantern and pointed to the coffin. Arthur stepped forwardly, hesitatingly. Van Helsing said to me,
You were there with me here yesterday. Was the body of Miss Lucy in that coffin?
It was.
We got books on Twitch now? I promise I mean this not in like a judgmental way. But I have a genuine question. You haven't seen many of my streams, have you? Welcome to my channel. I like reading. I like having a lot of text on my screen and reading it out to people. I hope you enjoy that, because I like doing that. And that's what I'm doing right now. Thanks for tuning in. I always worry when I have that thought and bring it up that it comes across as like a tut, you're a fucking new guy, aren't you? I don't mean it like that, but I do worry. This is cool? Let's go. Let's fucking go. Ought to play some text-based adventures? I literally have been thinking about it. I literally have been considering it. I'll leave it at that for now. Anyways.
The professor turned to the rest, saying,
Are you here? And yet there is no one who does not believe me, or believe with me.
He took his screwdriver and again took off the lid to the coffin. Arthur looked on, very pale, but silent. When the lid was removed, he stepped forward. He evidently did not know that this was a leaden coffin, or at any rate had not thought of it. When he saw the rent in the lead, the blood rushed to his face for an instant, but as quickly fell again. so that he remained of a ghastly whiteness. He was still silent. Van Helsing forced back the leaden flange, and we all looked in and recoiled. The coffin was empty. For several minutes, no one spoke a word. The silence was broken by Quincy Morris. "Professor, I answered for you. Your word's all I want. I wouldn't ask such a thing ordinarily. I wouldn't so dishonor you as to imply a doubt. But this is a mystery that goes beyond any honor or dishonor. Is this your doing?"
I swear to you by all that I hold sacred that I have not removed nor touched her.
Well, you did kind of touch her teeth and fangs, but I mean, that's not really what you're saying, so... I'm trying to fucking actually this dudes. I'm no better than Cinema Sins. Get my ass. Get my ass.
What happened was this. 2 nights ago, my friend Seward and I came here, with good purpose, believe me. I opened that coffin, which was then sealed up, and we found it as now empty. We then waited and saw something white come through the trees. The next day we came here in daytime, and she lay there. Did she not, friend John?
Yes.
That night we were just in time. One more so small child was missing, and we find it, thank God, unharmed amongst the graves. Yesterday I came here before sundown, for at sundown the undead can move. I waited here all the night till the sun rose, but I saw nothing. It was most probable that it was because I had laid over the clamps of those doors garlic, which the undead cannot bear, and other things which they shun. Last night there was no exodus. So tonight, before the sundown, I took away my garlic and other things. And so it is we find the coffin empty. But bear with me. So far there is much that is strange. Wait you with me outside. Unseen and unheard, and things much stranger are yet to be. So!
Here he shut the dark slide of his lantern.
Now, to the outside.
He opened the door, and we flied out, he coming last and locking the door behind him.
You're going to get a burger? Can someone recap you on what happens while you're away? No, read Dracula. Now you really want lots of garlic for dinner? That's what I'm hoping to do tonight. I've got, a bunch of, tomatoes from a can that I had opened up in the fridge to use up. And I've got, a bunch of other veggies that I've been meaning to cook up. So I'm gonna make a damn pasta. I'm gonna make a damn sauce. And I'm gonna put garlic in it. I'm gonna put a lot of garlic alert in it, I think. 'Cause that sounds good. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna make a damn sauce. Stream sponsored by Big Garlic? I'm just saying, if any fucking garlic growers out there want to pay me money, I'll take it. I'm not immune to garlic money. I'm not immune to garlic money. I'll take a garlic bribe from the garlic industry. Listen, if there are any garlic barons out there exploiting the garlic sands of Alberta, I'll toss my morals away for garlic. The garlic industrial complex. Awesome. Salmon spaghetti. That does sound good. I had put a bunch of tuna in a puttanesca that I made a little while ago, and that was good as fuck. Salmon and pasta also sounds like it could be pretty good. Where was I? Okay.
Oh, but it seemed fresh and pure in the night air after the terror of that vault. How sweet it was to see the clouds race by and the passing gleams of the moonlight between the scudding clouds, passing and crossing and passing, like the gladness and sorrow of a man's life. How sweet it was to breathe that fresh air that had no taint of death and decay. How humanizing to see the red lighting of the sky beyond the hill, and to hear far away the muffled roar that marks the life of a great city. Each, in his own way, was solemn and overcome. Arthur was silent, and was, I could see, striving to grasp the purpose and the inner meaning of the mystery. I was myself tolerably patient, and half inclined again to throw aside doubt and to accept Van Helsing's conclusions. Quincy Morris was phlegmatic in the way of a man who accepts all things. And accepts... Thank you for the money, you jump scared me. I appreciate your patronage. Thank you for the tip. I was also admittedly trying to, very carefully lift out my, tea strainer out of my cup, and was very carefully trying not to spill, liquids all over while doing that, and then the sound happened, and it scared the bejesus out of me, but thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, and I've got a little tea ring stain on my desk. I gotta clean that up. Hey, thank you, Chris Algu, for that sub. Much appreciated. Where was I? Phlegm. Quincy Morris was phlegmatic in the way of a man who accepts all things, and accepts them in the spirit of cool bravery, with hazard of all he has to stake.
Quincy Morris is just like,
yeah, world's weird, I'll believe that.
Did I spill any? No. I just had a little bit of sometimes when you pour water into a cup and you get a little bit of run over and it kind of spills to the side and makes a ring on the bottom. I had that. Where was I? Phlegm. Right. Okay, there we go.
Not being able to smoke, he cut himself a good-sized plug of tobacco and began to chew.
Man, of course this dude's into fucking dip.
As to Van Helsing, he was employed in a definite way. First, he took from his bag a mass of what looked like thin, wafer-like biscuit, which was carefully rolled up into a white napkin. Next, he took out a double handful of some whitish stuff, like dough or putty, or maybe some other whitish stuff we made jokes about earlier in the stream. He crumbled the wafer up fine and worked it into the mass between his hands. This he then took, and rolling it into thin strips, began to lay them into the crevices between the door and its setting in the tomb. I was somewhat puzzled at this, and being close, asked him what it was he was doing. Arthur and Quincy drew near also, as they too were curious. He answered,
I am closing the tomb, so that the undead may not enter.
Is that stuff you have put...
How the fuck do I... What's the inflection on this line? And is that stuff you have put there going to do it?
Is that stuff you put there gonna do it? Asked Quincy. Great Scott, is this a game? We playing? We playing out here?
It is.
What is it that which you are using? I feel like I've done 4 different fucking voices for Arthur just in this stream alone. And blah, 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 where was I? There. What is that which you are using?
This time the question was by Arthur. Van Helsing reverently lifted his hat as he answered.
The host.
Ah! It's the fucking... It's that shit you get at the church that's the shitty flat bread that sucks. They got that stuff. Them wafers. Missed the start of Dracula because you did a big kitchen clean today? I hope it was a good one. Chapter 15 was fucking juicy. So I encourage you to read it on your own and or catch up on the VOD at your leisure, because my god, it was a good fucking chapter.
The host. I brought it from Amsterdam. I have an indulgence.
It was an answer that appalled the most skeptical of us. And we felt individually that in the presence of such earnest purpose as the professor's, a purpose which could thus use the to him most sacred of things, it was impossible to distrust. In respectful silence, we took the places assigned to us close round the tomb, but hidden from the sight of anyone approaching. I pitied the others, especially Arthur. I had myself been apprenticed to my former visits to this watching horror. And yet I, who had up to an hour ago repudiated the proofs, felt my heart sink within me.
It doesn't suck, it just tastes like nothing? Yeah, that's why I think it sucks. Things ought to taste like something. It is an abomination, it is an affront unto the world. But it's a Jesus cracker, so I'll try not to be too sacrilegious. I'm at it, I guess. I always feel a little bad goofing on someone's beliefs, even if it is, like Christianity. Where the fuck was I? I pitied the Arthur. My heart was sinking within me. There we go. That's where I was.
Never did tombs look so ghastly white. Never did cypress or yew or juniper so seem the embodiment of funeral gloom. Never did tree or grass wave or rustles. Never did tree or grass wave or rustle so ominously. Never did bough creak so mysteriously, and never did the faraway howling of dogs send such a woeful presage through the night. There was a long spell of silence. A big, aching void. And then from the professor, a keen tss. He pointed, and far down the avenue of yews we saw a white figure advance. A dim, white figure which held something dark at its breast. The figure stopped. And at the moment, a ray of moonlight fell upon the masses of driving clouds and showed in startling prominence a dark-haired woman, dressed in the cerements of the grave. We could not see the face, for it was bent down over what we saw to be a fair-haired child. There was a pause, and a sharp little cry, such as a child gives in sleep, or a dog as it lies before the fire and dreams. We were starting forward, but the professor's warning hand, seen by us as he stood behind a yew tree, kept us back. And then as we looked, the white figure moved forwards again. It was now near enough for us to see clearly, and the moonlight still held. My own heart grew cold as ice, and I could hear the gasp of Arthur, as we recognized the features of Lucy Westenra. Lucy Westenra, but yet how changed! The sweetness was turned to adamantine, heartless cruelty, and the purity to voluptuous wantonness. Voluptuous, you say? Call me. Van Helsing stepped out, and obedient to his gesture, we all advanced too. The four of us ranged in a line before the door of the tomb. Van Helsing raised his lantern and drew the slide. By the concentrated light that fell on Lucy's face, we could see that the lips were crimson with fresh blood, and that the stream had trickled over her chin and stained the purity of her lawn death robe.
I sure hope beautiful lady, Bluefur lady doesn't come out of the fog and come sucks me. Awesome, thanks, Mist Heart. It's been a while since we've gotten to the actual psychosexuality of this and not just the bend-over jokes. Yeah! I did feel a little bit goofy being like, lol, he's bending over, lol, he said semen, during the bits that, aren't actually the, overtly sexual parts of this.
We shuddered with horror. I could see by the tremulous light that even Van Helsing's iron nerve had failed. Arthur was next to me, and if I had not seized his arm and held him up, he would have fallen. When Lucy, I call the thing that was before us Lucy because it bore her shape, saw us, she drew back with an angry snarl, such as a cat gives when taken unawares. Then her eyes ranged over us. Lucy's eyes in form and color, but Lucy's eyes unclean and full of hellfire, instead of the pure, gentle orbs we knew. As that moment, the remnant of my love passed into hate and loathing. Had she then to be killed, I could have done it with savage delight. As she looked, her eyes blazed with unholy light, and the face became wreathed with a voluptuous smile. Oh God, how it made me shudder to see it. With a careless motion, she flung to the ground, callous as a devil, the child that up to now she had clutched strenuously to her breast, growling over it as a dog growls over a bone. The child gave a sharp cry and lay there moaning. There was a cold-bloodedness in the act which wrung a groan from Arthur. When she advanced to him with outstretched arms and a wanton smile, he fell back and hid his face in his hands. She still advanced, however, and with a languorous, voluptuous grace, said, "Come to me, Arthur. Leave these others and come to me. My arms are hungry for you. Come, and we can rest together. Come, my husband, come!" There was something diabolically sweet in her tone.
Dracula is decidedly unsexy? Disagree strongly. Given that how so much of the opening chapters was talking about how this dude could not resist Dracula. He is a weird, sensual old man. Like, it's not exactly subtext. Don't think you can say your opinion on Dracula in a public Twitch chat. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. But, okay. Where was I? Right, here.
There was something diabolically sweet in her tones. Something of the tingling of glass when struck, which rang through the brains even of us who had heard the words addressed to one another. As for Arthur, he seemed under a spell, moving his hands from his face, his opened wide arms. She was leaping for them when Van Helsing sprang forward and held between them his little golden crucifix. She recoiled from it, and with a suddenly distorted face full of rage, dashed past him as if to enter the tomb.
A sexful Dracula was not the thing you thought you would hear. Have you read Dracula? Genuine question. Have you read Dracula? No. Neither did I. And then I read it, and it is very immediately apparently obvious that there is more than a little sexual subtext and also just text. Let's see, where was I? Here. Right, she recoiled from it, she was doing real damn bad. That's why they made you read an abridged version in school? I don't know if that's why. I don't know where you went to school, I know nothing about your education system. Or the standards to which Dracula is held in, younger educational settings. We've talked at least every stream about how Bram Stoker and Oscar Wilde had a history. They sure did, and now we're talking about it this stream, too. It is, there is a very real reason why the author, who, you know, was friends with, like, famously queer people, had complicated feelings about love and sexuality and, like, its place and its view in society, in the society that he lived in, was trying to express his complicated feelings, in that society. It's also a book about other things, because, you know, a story, a work of art is not just... It's not just one guiding statement, it's not just one word, it's a conversation, you know? What did the author put into it? What do you take out of it? How do you see it? How do you see it reflected in the world you live in? How do you see it reflected in the world the author lived in? What does it say about the times, about the writer? What does it say about the current times? What does it say about you? What does it say about me? Okay, I'm glad someone else beat me to the Bram Stoker was also so normal about Oscar Wilde. It is also a book with racism. Right, because it's a book talking about, you know, how people in this time had thoughts about love and sexuality, and how things, you know, like gender and race came into that, for better or for worse. These are prejudices of the time that shaped the thoughts and ideas of the book. It's a book about the weird, scary foreigner man coming in and everyone goes sex crazy. What do we do? It's an affront to all of our, you know, good, godly, white Christian values. It's also a commentary on, you know, sexism. And being gay. It's a lot of things. It's interesting, it's neat, it's weird. Art's weird. It's also about a man eating a little bit of paprika and being like, this is much too spicy for me. I can't handle this, man. Sorry, I'm taking a moment while I just sort of think out loud here to also drink a little bit more to help the throat a bit. I don't know, I feel like I say this literally every time, and I'm probably going to continue saying it, just because I like saying how I feel and how I think, but I don't know, it's neat to look at these and think about, like, how they were put together and what they're trying to say and what we think they're saying. And it's fun to do that in a group setting where we can all sit around the fire and be like, what does this mean? What do you think this is about? How are you feeling about this? Why'd they do that? Why'd they do that? Why were they talking about the candle ejaculating or whatever? That's not the psychosexual part, what do you mean? What do you think Van Helsing being bent over a coffin means? It does mean he's flexible, that's true. You love a good Candlejack mystery? What the fuck is a cat? I hope you liked my joke for the day. I hope you enjoyed my joke for the day. Where was I? Let's get back to reading. Okay. I think I'm good to go again. I was seeing some Van Helsing lines up ahead, so I wanted to take a bit of a break. Gonna go back and watch all the VODs of me reading this at some point. Yay! Oh, I'm happy to hear that. The book is good, but your reading it adds to it an awful lot. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. This is something I've literally been wanting to do for years, and hopefully I can, excuse me, get back into the swing of doing it a little faster. or at least a little more often. I brought this up earlier. I am hoping to do another Dracula stream this week on probably like Thursday. And I want to try doing it more often again because I really want to get this book done. I really want to read more of this book and get it done because I want to read other books as well. I still gotta get to fucking Frankenstein. Which, Frankenstein I might shift to like a different time block. Just because I know I have at least one friend who is on a nocturnal schedule who would probably want to be there for that. But, you know. It's a shame Lucy is fucked up and evil now because Mina deserves to have her loving husband Jonathan and also a hot vampire girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah, you know. There's probably some room here for a modern interpretation of Dracula there in some regard. Interpretation is in like a new written one, I suppose. Would that friend perhaps happen to be a Frankenstein of a friendly variety? You know? Might just be. That fucking reminds me, before we get back to it, I guess. I had a fucking brain moment remembering the other day that for like months, before I like actually knew Frankie personally as like a person, I was misreading his fucking username. I was misreading his fucking username for months and saying, hey, thank you Freaky Frankenstein for the support. And to this day, I'm still so embarrassed about it. But it's really fucking funny in retrospect. There's probably someone's name that I am horribly misreading constantly. And I'm maybe someday gonna realize, oh my god, it's not that. I'm so fucking sorry. But hopefully, hopefully if I am doing that, whoever I'm doing it to will be able to have a good laugh about it. Mr. Hart is a good drag king name, that's true. Bram Stoker is a good drag king name. Van Smelsing is not a good drag king name, but you can use it if you want. Let's get back to reading Dracula. Alright.
When within a foot or two of the door, however, she stopped as if arrested by some irresistible force. Then she turned, and her face was shown in the clear burst of moonlight and by the lamp, which had now no quiver from Van Helsing's iron nerves. Never did I see such baffled malice on a face, and never, I trust, shall such ever be seen again by mortal eyes. The beautiful color became livid. The eyes seemed to throw out sparks of hellfire. The brows were wrinkled as though the folds of the flesh were the coils of Medusa's snakes, and the lovely, blood-stained mouth grew to an open square, as in the passion marks of the Greeks and Japanese. If ever a face meant death, if looks could kill, we saw it that moment. And so, for a full half-minute, which seemed like an eternity, she remained between the lifted crucifix and the sacred closing of her means of entry. Van Helsing broke the silence by asking Arthur,
"Answer me, O my friend! Am I to proceed in my work?"
Arthur threw himself on his knees and hid his face in his hands, and he answered, "Do as you will, friend, do as you will. There can be no horror like this ever any more." And he groaned in spirit. Quincy and I simultaneously moved towards him and took his arms. We could hear the click of the closing lantern as Van Helsing held it down. Coming close to the tomb, he began to remove from the chunk...
I don't want to read that word. It's, you know what it says. You know what it says, you know what it means.
Some of the sacred emblem which he had placed there. We all looked on in horrified amazement as we saw, when he stood back, the woman, with a corporeal body as real as that moment as our own, pass in through the interstice, where scarce a knife blade could have gone. We all felt a glad sense of relief when we saw the professor calmly restoring the strings of putty to the edges of the door. When this was done, he lifted the child and said,
"Come now, my friends. We can do no more till tomorrow. There is a funeral at noon, so here we shall all come before long after that. The friends of the dead will all be gone by 2, and when the sexton lock the gate, we shall remain. Then there is more to do, but not like this of tonight. As for this little one, he is not much harm, and by tomorrow night he shall be well. We shall leave him where the police will find him, as on the other night, and then to home."
Coming close to Arthur, he said,
"My friend Arthur, you have had a sore trial, but after, when you look back, you will see how it was necessary. You are now in the bitter waters, my child. By this time tomorrow you will, please God, have passed them, and have drunk of the sweet waters. So do not mourn overmuch. Till then, I shall not ask you to forgive me."
Arthur and Quincy came home with me, and we tried to cheer each other on the way. We had left the child in safety, and were tired. So we all slept with more or less reality of sleep.
It's break time. I got to get up for my stretch. Oh, that's the wrong tab. Hang on. I'm all alone. I'm trapped here in the void. Help! Help me! Oh, help me! Marge! Lisa! Boy! Help me! Oh, help me! Oh, stuck here all alone. There's nothing I can do. Oh no. What can I... What is that? What is that? Could that be... No! Help me! No! I gotta get out of here! Help me! Help me! Oh no! I forgot how agonizingly long it takes to boot this shit up. Never fucking mind. It's break time. It's fucking break time. Get up, have a stretch, get yourself a drink or a snack if you haven't had any of that in a while. I'm running ads for 3 minutes so that we don't get ads in the middle of the reading. We'll be back real soon.
Okay, I'm back. Ah!
Hi.
What's going on?
I ate some cucumber. Now I have cucumber in my body. So basically I'm getting charged up with cucumber power. And this is quite good, because when the cucumber of the soul meets the duckling of the left ventricle, something amazing will happen. Yeah. Hang on. Question for chat, prompted by your father who referred to Frankenstein as the other one in relation to Dracula. Do you consider the book's counterparts in any sort of way? There's probably certainly multiple ways in which you could make that comparison, yeah. Like, they are, like, foundational works of, like, gothic horror. And also in, like, popular culture, Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman are kind of like a trio. Hang on, I have to put this comment on top of the fridge. Thank you, Cryptotheism. When cucumber stimulates the azure duckling of the heart, which has dominion over streaming, something amazing happens in the body. I'm literally always thinking of that post talking about getting crossfaded and the duckling of the heart and the coiled snake. The Universal Studios trio. Awesome. The duckling gets too fat off the harmonious seed. It's good. It's good. We just need to bring back alchemical texts and Vogue so that I can see more posts like that. But they have to be good posts. If they're bad posts, it's nothing to me. I'm very excited to eventually get to Frankenstein, because I already didn't know a lot about Dracula because I'd never read it. I know less about Frankenstein than I do about Dracula. Bram Stoker's dick stroker. It sure fucking is, buddy! How you doing today, Gur? Hope you're having a good one. I've got a bit of a sniffle because I just kind of poked my head outside for a little bit. And you know, the change of temperature and pressure, the sinuses. I'm gonna blow my nose. I'm gonna honk my bobo. I shouldn't say I'm honking my bobo live on stream. They've killed people for less. But I mean, that's a pretty thorough honking, isn't it? You've heard it for yourself now. Okay. Dracula? We get back to it? More? Goosecore? That's true. Thank you for your message, Die Kid Gay. Really good username, I must say. Die Kid Gay is, like, one of the classics of, like, YouTube comments. I don't even remember if it was a YouTube comment. But I think about it very often. More often than I ought to. Foundational text of the internet. Glad to see it paid the proper reverence it's due. Anytime you say anything, you get auto-modded type username. You know, you'd think that. And I have my settings set, like, to be... What's the proper word? I feel like very discriminatory is technically correct, but that also has some other implications given how else the word discriminatory is used. I have automod set to fucking flag everything, basically, is what I mean to say. It doesn't flag this person's username. We've set the automod to say a slur? No, the opposite. We've set the automod to think dinosaur is a slur. That's what I mean. It picks up the word dinosaur sometimes. Because it goes, that might be ageism. Automod did automod you for posting large black square emoticon. It did do that. I don't know why it fucking did that, Ham of Justice. But it absolutely did do that. But it absolutely did do that. Some Korean MMOs you played back in the day where you couldn't use the name Simpleton because SM got picked up as sadomasochism? Oh my god! That's so fucking funny! Oh, that's great. That's like... That's some fucking you can't trade the Pokemon cough egregious on the online trading unless you give it a username type. We've noticed a problem with your name detection. Oh, man. Assassin is also a classic. Does Mars set the auto mod to ban Goomba mention? Mods ban them, ban them, ban them, mods ban them, ban them, ban them, mods ban them, ban them, ban them, mods ban them, ban them? Okay, let's get back to it now. Who are you banning? Anyone you want, my friend. But just once. Yay! Alright.
29th of September. Night. A little before 12 o'clock, we three, Arthur, Quincy Morris, and myself, called for the professor. It was odd to notice that by common consent we had all put on black clothes. Of course, Arthur wore black, for he was in deep mourning, but the rest of us wore it by instinct.
I just fucking was idly bumping around like a candy wrapper that I have to put in the garbage, and was like, I should put this down away from my hand so I'm not fiddling with it, and not looking what I was doing, did directly just put it in my teacup. So now I've got a wet damn candy wrapper that I've got to dispose of. Is it having fun in there? No, not anymore. I took it out literally immediately. But I did do it. I'm sorry to my beautiful, beautiful cup of cold green tea. I hope you enjoy the slightest hint of a hazelnut Lindor chocolate in there. I'd like the suggestion of it. Alright, well.
We got to the churchyard by 1:30 and strolled about, keeping out of official observation, so that when the gravediggers had completed their task and the sexton, under the belief that everyone had gone, had locked the gate, we had the place all to ourselves. Van Helsing, instead of his little black bag, had with him a long leather one, something like a cricketing bag. It was manifestly of fair weight.
Green tea and hazelnut chocolates is a good combo. It is. I'm genuinely, actually heartbroken that I ate all of them. I don't have more. I want more chocolates. But if I go to the store and just buy chocolates every time I'm like, I want chocolates, then I'm spending a lot of money on chocolates. Which then is another problem entirely. But I do want chocolates.
When we were alone and had heard the last of the footsteps die out up the road, we silently, and as if by ordered intention, followed the professor to the tomb. He unlocked the door, and we entered, closing it behind us. Then he took from his bag the lantern, which he lit, and also 2 wax candles, which, when lighted, he struck, by melting their own ends on other coffins, so that they might give light sufficiently to work by. When he again lifted the lid off Lucy's coffin, we all looked, Arthur trembling like an aspen, and saw that the body lay there in all its death beauty. But there was no love in my own heart, nothing but loathing for that foul thing,
Capital T, thing.
which had taken Lucy's shape without her soul. I could even see Arthur's face grow hard as he looked. Presently he said to Van Helsing,
Is that really Lucy's body? Or only a demon in her shape?
It is her body, and yet it is not. But wait a while, and you all see her as she was, and is.
She seemed like a nightmare of Lucy as she lay there. The pointed teeth, the blood-stained, voluptuous mouth, which it made one shudder to see. The whole carnal and unspiritual appearance, seeming like a devilish mockery of Lucy's sweet purity. Van Helsing, with his usual methodicalness, began taking the various contents from his bag and placing them ready for use. First he took out a soldering iron and some plumbing solder, then a small oil lamp which gave out when lit in a corner of the tomb, gas which burned at a fierce heat with a blue flame, then his operating knives which he placed to hand, and last a round wooden stake, some 2.5 or 3 inches thick and about 3 feet long. One end of it was hardened by a charring in the fire, and was sharpened to a fine point.
Would I be able to read Who Goes There, or can I only read public domain books? As far as I know, I can only really do public domain stuff, because anything else is copyrighted. And I don't think reading an entire book out loud on a stream where people can choose to, tip me really falls under fair use, Unfortunately. Would that I could read other books, I very gladly would. Unfortunately, we have limited choices. There are many things we can pick from said limited choices. But, limited choices. You own everything and say I can do it? Okay! Yay! Where the fuck was I going? Where's there we go. Okay, sharpened to a fine point.
With this stake came a heavy hammer, such as in households is used in the coal cellar for breaking the lumps.
They're gonna break her damn lumps! They're going to break her fucking lumps!
To me, a doctor's preparations for work of any kind are stimulating and bracing. But the effect of these things on both Arthur and Quincy was to cause them a sort of consternation. They both, however, kept their courage and remained silent and quiet. When all was ready, Van Helsing said,
Before we do anything, let me tell you this. It is out of the lore and experience of the ancients and of all those who have studied the powers of the undead. When they become such, there comes with the change the curse of immortality. They cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims, and multiplying the evils of the world. For all that die from the preying of the undead become themselves undead, and prey on their own kind. And so, the circle goes on ever widening, like as the ripples from a stone thrown in the water. Friend Arthur, if you had met that kiss which you know of before poor Lucy died, or again last night when you opened your arms to her, you would, in time, when you had died, have become Nosferatu, as they call it in Eastern Europe, and would all time make much more of those undeads that so have filled us with horror. The career of this so unhappy dear lady is but just begun. I must drinking more water.
I gotta start brewing myself more fucking tea to drink during these. I need like a big fucking thermos full of it that I can have hot at my leisure with honey and lemon. I literally had honey and lemon and didn't put any in my tea because I'd never tried this one before. Let's see. Nosferatu, you would become a Nosferatu. There we go.
Those children whose blood she suck are not as yet so much the worse. But if she live on...
I lost my place. Hang on. There we go.
But if she live on, undead, more and more they lose their blood, and by her power over them they come to her. And so she draw their blood with that so wicked mouth. But if she die in truth, then all cease. The tiny wounds of the throats disappear, and they go back to their plays, unknowing ever of what has been. But of the most blessed of all, when this now one dead be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love shall again be free. Instead of working wickedness by night and growing more debased in the assimilating of it by day, she shall take her place with the other angels. So that, my friend, it will be a blessed hand for her that shall strike the blow that sets her free. To this I am willing. But is there none amongst us? Who has a better night? Will it be no joy to think of hereafter in the silence of the night, when sleep is not? It was my hand that sent her to the stars. It was the hand of him that loved her best. The hand that of all she would herself have chosen, had it been to her to choose. Tell me if there be such a one amongst us.
We all looked at Arthur. He saw, too, what we all did. The infinite kindness which suggested that his should be the hand which would restore Lucy to us as a holy, and not an unholy memory.
Finally off of work.
Yay!
Got bad news.
Oh no!
Holly time.
Not yay!
Now.
I'm sorry to hear that. I hope your day starts looking up, and I hope the rest of the week is good to you. Thank you for the resub, L Angel 2. Much appreciated. Have to wonder how big a twist this would have been for people who weren't already used to the idea of vampires turning their victims. Don't think that was a universal trait of vampires in fiction before this. Right, because vampires in fiction, at least in, like, the Western world, sure weren't really a big thing, if a thing at all. Like, this is one of the foundational works that made people start writing about vampires. More so after that. I know there was at least one, and probably more than one before that, that was also in some ways foundational. The one about the woman whose name I always forget, but... certainly a lot of this was, like, big surprise to people at the time, is my understanding. Because there weren't really stories about this sort of thing. At least, like, in literature like this. There was folklore from different places in the world, yeah. But, like, these were the big ones for, like, England, right? Is my understanding? Can't remember if Camilla turning anyone was a threat through... I can't fucking read. Can't remember if Carmilla turning anyone was a threat, though, in her book. I've also never read her book, so... I got no idea. But there are certainly foundational works that made people more aware of, like, these ideas and tropes in fiction, because these are the ones that made them ideas and tropes, you know? So yeah, like, a lot of this is old hat to us in, like, the 2020s, having heard and seen so many stories related to a damn Dracula come to your house and suck you. But, like, at the time, this was horrifying to people, apparently. It is a little bit funny to think about how, you know, the times and the standards have changed. This was a story where, like, and then a ghoul come out of the grave, and she go and she drink on the children. Oh god. And people were, like, fainting reading it. It was too salacious. It was too scary. That's fun to think about. There's definitely a medical horror aspect. There is also that. There is also that. There's lots of stuff. Didn't people actually want to stab corpses with stakes after the book came out? I do not know. That I have never heard of, so no clue. Not sure if real, just posting. Alright, here we were.
We all looked at Arthur. He saw too what we all did. The infinite kindness which suggested that his should be the hand which would restore Lucy to us a holy and not an unholy memory. He stepped forward and said bravely, though his hand trembled, and his face was pale as snow, "My true friend, from the bottom of my heart I thank you. Tell me what I am to do, and I shall not falter." Van Helsing laid a hand on his shoulder and said,
Brave lad! A moment's courage, and it is done. This stake must be driven through her. It will be a fearful ordeal, but not deceived in that. But it will be only a short time, and then you will then rejoice more than your pain was great. From this grim tomb you will emerge as though you tread on air. But you must not falter once you have begun. Only think that we, your true friends, are round you, and that we pray for you all the time.
"Go on," said Arthur hoarsely. "Tell me what I am to do."
Take this stake in your left hand, ready to place the point over the heart, and the hammer in your right. Then, when we begin our prayer for the dead, I shall read him, I hear the book, and the others shall follow. Strike in God's name, that so all may be well with the dead that we love, and that the undead pass away.
Arthur took the stake and the hammer, and when once his mind was set on action, his hands never trembled, nor even quivered. Van Helsing opened his missal and began to read, and Quincy and I followed as well as we could. Arthur placed the point over the heart, and as I looked, I could see its dint in the white flesh. Then he struck with all his might.
Hang on really quick, I have to add an awesome image to my OBS. I have to add an awesome image. Hang on. Just a sec, hang on. Hang on.
The thing in the coffin writhed, and a hideous, blood-curdling screech came from the opened red lips. The body shook and quivered and twisted in wild contortions. The sharp, white teeth champed together till the lips were cut, and the mouth was smeared with a crimson foam. But Arthur never faltered. He looked like a figure of Thor as his untrembling arm rose and fell, driving deeper and deeper the mercy-bearing strike, whilst the blood from the pierced heart welled and spurted up around it. His face was set, and high duty seemed to shine through it. The sight of it gave us courage that our voices seemed to ring through the little vault. And the writhing and quivering of the body became less, and the teeth seemed to champ, and the face to quiver. Finally, it lay still. The terrible task was over. The hammer fell from Arthur's hand. He reeled and would have fallen had we not caught him. The great drops of sweat sprang from his forehead, and his breath came in broken gasps. It had indeed been an awful strain on him, and had he not been forced to his task by more than human considerations, he could never have gone through with it. For a few minutes we were so taken up with him that we did not look toward the coffin. We did, however. A murmur of startled surprise ran from one to the other of us. We gazed so eagerly that Arthur rose, where he had been seated on the ground, and came and looked too. And then a glad, strange light broke over his face, and dispelled altogether the gloom of horror that laid upon it. There, in the coffin, lay no longer the foul thing that we had so dreaded and grown to hate, that the work of her destruction was yielded as a privilege to the one best entitled to it. But Lucy, as we had seen her in her life, with her face of unequaled sweetness and purity. True that there were there, as we had seen them in life, the traces of care and pain and waste. But these were all dear to us, for they marked her truth to what we knew. One and all, we felt that the holy calm that lay like sunshine over the wasted face and form was only an earthly token and symbol of the calm that was to reign forever. Van Helsing came out and laid his hand on Arthur's shoulder and said to him,
"And now, Arthur, my friend, dear lad, am I not forgiven?"
The reaction of the terrible strain came as he took the old man's hand in his, and raising it to his lips, pressed it, and said, "Forgiven! God bless you that you have given me my dear one her soul again, and me peace." He put his hands on the professor's shoulder, and laying his head on his breast, cried for a while suddenly, whilst we stood unmoving. When he raised his head, Van Helsing said to him,
"And now, my child, you may kiss her. Kiss her dead lips, if you will, as she would have you do, if for her to choose. For she is not a grinning devil now, not any more a foul thing for all eternity. No longer is she the devil's undead. She is God's true dead, whose soul is with him."
Arthur bent over and kissed her. And then we sent him and Quincy out of the tomb. The professor and I sawed the top off the stake, leaving the point of it in the body. Then we cut off the head and filled the mouth with garlic. We soldered up the leaden coffin, screwed on the coffin lid, and gathering up our belongings, came away. When the professor locked the door, he gave the key to Arthur. Outside, the air was sweet. The sun shone and the birds sang, and it seemed as if all nature were tuned to a different pitch. There was gladness and mirth and peace everywhere, for we were at rest ourselves on one account. And we wore glad. My fucking mouse cursor was over this word, and like the kerning of it made it look like it was an O and not an E. I'm gonna take that one again. There was gladness and mirth and peace everywhere, for we were at rest ourselves on one account, and we were glad, though it was with a tempered joy. Before we moved away, Van Helsing said,
"Now, my friends, one step of our work is done, one the most harrowing to ourselves. But there remains a greater task, to find out the author of all this our sorrow, and to stamp him out. I have clues which we can follow, but it is a long task and a difficult, and there is a danger in it, and pain. Shall you not all help me? We have learned to believe, all of us, is it not so? And since so, do we not see our duty? Yes. And do we not promise to go on to the bitter end?"
Each, in turn, we took his hand, and the promise was made. Then, said the professor as we moved off,
2 nights hence you shall meet with me, and dine together at 7 of the clock with friend John.
Yo, John is coming back. Let's go.
I shall entreat 2 others, 2 that you know not as yet, and I shall be ready to all our work show when our plans unfold.
Oh, wait, John is in, like, C-word. Fuck. I thought they were talking about Johnny Harker, which is also John, who they don't know yet. That's the two they're talking about. But I got so excited. I saw John and I was like, you mean Mr. Harker? Oh, well. Well, they are literally talking about him, so...
Friend John, you come with me home, for I have much to consult about, and you can help me. Tonight I leave for Amsterdam, but shall return tomorrow night. And then begins our great quest. But first, I shall have much to say, so that you may know what is to do and to dread. Then our promise shall be made to each other anew. For there is a terrible task before us, and once our feet are on the plowshare, we must not draw back.
Say, how long is chapter 17? Not especially long. Okay. I think we'll do chapter 17 and then I'll call it for the night. I don't have any firm, like, time limit for, oh, I gotta end tonight, but one, I want to cook myself dinner, and two, I had, like, loose plans with my partner tonight for, let's hang out on call while we, you know, like, try and get work done, kind of thing. So I got a hot date with some big spaghetti. You're crushing your beans? Awesome. This was the first attested use, meaning supernaturally brought back from the dead. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, the way they were wording it so, like, specifically, and, like, so proper noun enunciated capitalized with the hyphen and all. I was wondering if they were trying to make a point of, like, this is how we are using this word in this specific way, because you may not be used to it because it is new, sort of thing. Pardon me. Chapter 17 looks like it's going to be a good bit of jumping to different diaries, which is exciting for me because then I get to do other voices. Yay! We've been stuck in the slog for so long of this book mostly just being Dr. Seward's diary for such a long time that I've just been doing Dr. Seward, and I've really been wanting to do the other voices. We are about to have a Category 4, at minimum, women moment. Please look forward to it. Okay. Chapter 17. Dr. Seward's diary. Continued.
When we arrived at the Berkeley Hotel, Van Helsing found a telegram waiting for him.
I'm coming up by train. Jonathan at Whitby. Important news. Mina Harker.
The professor was delighted.
Ah, that wonderful Madam Mina, he said. Pearl among women. Oh, she arrived, but I cannot stay. She must go to your house, friend John. You must meet her at the station. Telegraph her en route, so that she may be prepared.
When the wire was dispatched, he had a cup of tea. Over it, he told me of a diary kept by Jonathan Harker when abroad, and gave me a typewritten copy of it. As also of Miss Harker's diary at Whitby. Sorry, Mrs. Harker's diary at Whitby.
Take these, he said, and study them well.
You like how the YouTube VODs have funny images? That's all Brady. That's literally all Brady. He was just like, hey, can I put random Dracula stock images I found? And I was like, oh, buddy, you sure fucking can. Where was I? Here.
Take these and study them well. When I have returned, you will be master of all the facts, and we can then better enter on our inquisition. Keep them safe, for there is in them much of treasure. You will need all your faith, even you who have had such an experience as that today. What is here told?
He laid his hand heavily and gravely on the packet of papers as he spoke.
may be the beginning of the end to you and me and many other, or it may sound the knell of the undead who walk the earth. Read all, I pray you, with the open mind, and if you can add in any way to the story he here told, do so, for it is all important. You have kept diary of all these so strange things, is it not so? Yes. Then we shall go through all these together when we meet. Bro, I want to read your fucking diary. Tell me how sad you are, and about the Dracula.
He then made ready for his departure, and shortly after drove off to Liverpool Street. I took my way to Paddington, where I arrived about 15 minutes before the train came in.
Please, if you would, combine all of your writings and the writings of Mr. Harker and Mrs. Mina into some sort of expository novel. It need not be in linear time order, whatever you see fit, that we may better solve this riddle work for me. It will do gangbusters, I tell you. Once all this is done, we make a killing selling Dracula story.
The crowd melted away after the bustling fashion common to arrival platforms, and I was beginning to feel uneasy, lest I might miss my guest, when a sweet-faced, dainty-looking girl stepped up to me, and after a quick glance said,
Oh god, I've got to switch to the higher-pitched voice after doing the fucking growl. Come on, Holly, you got this. Dr. Seward, is it not?
"And you are Miss Harker," I answered at once, whereupon she held out her hand. "I knew you from the description of poor dear Lucy, but..."
Oh wait, no. Other way around, I think. I knew you from the description of poor dear Lucy, but...
She stopped suddenly, and a quick blush overspread her face. The blush that rose to my own cheek somehow set us both at ease, for it was a tacit answer to her own. I got her luggage, which included a typewriter, and we took the underground to Fenchurch Street, after I had sent a wire to my housekeeper to have a sitting room and bedroom prepared at once for Miss Harker. In due time we arrived. She knew, of course, that the place was a lunatic asylum, but I could see that she was unable to repress a shudder when we entered. She told me that, if she might, she would come presently to my study, as she had much to say. So here I am, finishing my entry in my phonograph diary whilst I await her. As yet, I have not had the chance of looking at the papers which Van Helsing left with me, though they lie open before me. I must get her interested in something, so that I may have an opportunity of reading them. She does not know how precious time is.
Hang on. I have to get something else on my OBS really quick, actually.
She does not know how precious time is, or what a task we have in hand. I must be careful not to frighten her. Here she is.
Here I go. Mina Harker's Journal. 29th of September. After I had tidied myself, I went down to Dr. Seward's study. At the door, I paused a moment, for I thought I heard him talking with someone. Oh, right! He's doing, like, audio diaries. He's, like, talking into his whatever-ogram to get that done. As, however, he had pressed me to be quick, I knocked at the door, and on his calling out, "Come in!" I entered. To my intense surprise, there was no one with him. He was quite alone, and on the table opposite him was what I knew at once from the description to be a phonograph. I had never seen one, and was much interested. "I hope I did not keep you waiting," I said, "but I stayed at the door as I heard you talking, and thought there was someone with you."
"Oh,"
he replied with a smile.
"I was only entering my diary."
"Your diary?" I asked him in surprise.
"Yes,"
he answered.
I keep it in this."
And as he spoke, he laid his hand on the phonograph. I felt quite excited over it and blurted out, "Why, this beats even shorthand!" May I hear it say something? Oh, she's so excited about a weird new, text and writing thing.
Certainly,
He replied with alacrity, and stood up to put it in train for speaking. And then he paused, and a troubled look overspread his face. Yeah, she is a little bit of a dork. She is a little bit of a nerd with it. It's wonderful. I adore her.
the fact is,
He began awkwardly.
I only keep my diary in it. And as it is entirely, almost entirely, about my cases, it may be awkward. That is, I mean...
He stopped, and I tried to help him out of his embarrassment. You helped to attend dear Lucy at the end. Let me hear how she died. For all that I know of her, I shall be very grateful. She was very, very dear to me. Does this mean in Seward's diary he's been voicing all the dialogue himself?
Yes.
To my surprise, he answered, with a horror-struck look in his face.
Tell you of her death, not for the wide world.
Why not? I asked, for some grave, terrible feeling was coming over me. Again he paused, and I could see that he was trying to invent an excuse. At length he stammered out,
You see, I do not know how to pick out any particular part of the diary.
Even while he was speaking, an idea dawned upon him, and he said with unconscious simplicity in a different voice, and with the naivete of a child.
That's quite true, upon my honor. Honest Indian!
I could not but smile, at which he grimaced.
I gave myself away that time,
He said.
But do you know that, although I have kept the diary for months past, it never once struck me how I was going to find any particular part of it in case I wanted to look it up.
By this time, my mind was made up that the diary of a doctor who attended Lucy might have something to add to the sum of our knowledge of that terrible being. And I said boldly, Then, Dr. Seward, you had better let me copy it out for you on my typewriter. He grew to a positively deathly pallor as he said,
No, for all the world, I wouldn't let you know that terrible story.
Then it was terrible. My intuition was right. For a moment, I thought, and as my eyes ranged the room, unconsciously looking for something or some opportunity to aid me, they lit on a great batch of typewriting on the table. His eyes caught the look in mine, and without his thinking, followed their direction. As they saw the parcel, he realized my meaning. You do not know me, I said. When you have read those papers, my own diary and my husband's also, which I have typed, you will know me better.
Come and know me better, man!
I have not faltered in giving every thought of my own heart in this case. But, of course, you do not know me. Yet. I must not expect you to trust me so far. He's certainly a man of noble nature. Poor dear Lucy was right about him. I scrolled up and literally just lost my place. There we go, I found it. He stood up and opened a large drawer, in which were arranged in order a number of hollow cylinders of metal covered with dark wax. Yeah, Mina's cool as fuck. She's grilling this dude as politely as she can. And said,
You are quite right. I did not trust you because I did not know you. But I know you now, and let me say that I should have known you long ago. I know that Lucy told you of me. She told me of you, too. May I make the only atonement in my power? Take the cylinders and hear from them. The first half dozen of them are personal to me, and they will not horrify you. Then you will know me better. Dinner will be ready by then. Dinner will by then be ready. In the meantime, I shall read over some of these documents and shall be better able to understand certain things.
He carried the phonograph himself up to my sitting room and adjusted it for me. Now I shall learn something pleasant, I am sure, for it will tell me the other side of a true love episode, of which I know one side already. The wording of this is so fucking quaint. She's talking about it like, ooh, I can't wait to listen to another episode of my soaps. In the previous passage, Seawater was like, I have to get her silly feminine mind distracted so I can read the diaries. Yeah, and then she just walks in and she's like, hey, bitch boy, you want to read those fucking diaries while I listen to yours? Mina fucking rules. I was about to say Lucy fucking rules. She also does, but she's, you know. I can't wait to hear how much of a dipshit this dude was when he was talking about how much he wanted Lucy. That's gonna be awesome. Well, back to bitch boy.
Dr. Seward's diary.
Jonathan Harker has excellent taste in women, ain't that the fucking truth? Cheers to that.
29th of September. I was so absorbed in that wonderful diary of Jonathan Harker and that other of his wife that I let the time run on without thinking. Mrs. Harker was not down when the maid came to announce dinner, so I said, she is possibly tired, let dinner wait an hour, and I went on with my work.
Oh, sure, it's because of the woman being wayfish, not because I'm busy or whatever. Not because I'm a wave.
I had just finished Mrs. Harker's diary when she came in. She looked sweetly pretty, but very sad, and her eyes were flushed with crying. This somehow moved me much. Of late I have had cause for tears, God knows, but the relief of them was denied me. And now the sight of those sweet eyes, brightened with recent tears, went straight to my heart. So I said as gently as I could, I greatly fear I have distressed you.
Oh, no, not distressed me, she replied. But I have been more touched than I can say by your grief. That is a wonderful machine, but it is cruelly true. It told me in its very tones the anguish of your heart. It was like a soul crying out to Almighty God. No one must hear them spoken ever again. See, I have tried to be useful. I have copied out the words on my typewriter, and none other need now hear your heart beat as I did.
No one need ever know, shall ever know, I said in a low voice. She laid her hand on mine and said very gravely,
Ah, but they must.
Must? But why? I asked.
Because it is a part of this terrible story, a part of poor dear Lucy's death and all that led to it. Because the struggle which we have before us to rid the earth of this terrible monster, we must have all the knowledge and all the help which we can get. I think that the cylinders which you gave me contained more than you intended me to know. But I can see that there are in your record many lights to this dark mystery. You will help me, will you not? I know all up to a certain point, and I see already, through your though your diary only took me to the 7th of September, how poor Lucy was beset and how her terrible doom was being wrought out. Jonathan and I have been working all day and night since Professor Van Helsing saw us. He has gone to Whitby to get more information, and he will be here tomorrow to help us. We need have no secrets amongst us. Hang on, I gotta... Working together and with absolute trust, we can surely be stronger than if some of us were in the dark.
She looked at me so appealingly, and at the same time manifested such courage and resolution in her bearing, that I gave in at once to her wishes. You shall, I said, do as you like in that manner. God forgive me if I do wrong. There are terrible things yet to learn of. But if you have so far traveled on the road to poor Lucy's death, You will not be content, I know, to remain in the dark. Nay, the end, the very end, may give you a gleam of peace. Come, there is dinner. We must keep one another strong for what is before us. We have a cruel and dreadful task. When you have eaten, you shall learn the rest, and I shall answer any questions you ask, if there be anything which you do not understand, though it was apparent to us who was present.
Hope I get a pro audiobook narrating job soon. Oh, that's nice of you to say, thank you. Maybe someday. It's something I'd like to look into. I haven't yet, just because my, home recording setup is a little futzy, it's a little fiddly. It's something I want to try looking more into in earnest once I've had a chance to, move out, have a place of my own where I can have more space to actually set up things like that. Someday I'd like to. It's, It does fluff up my old ego at least a little bit to see other people be like, yeah, you should fucking do that, dude, come on. Mina Harker's Journal, 29th of September. After dinner, I came with Dr. Seward to his study. He brought back the phonograph from my room, and I took my typewriter. He placed me in a comfortable chair and arranged the phonograph so that I could touch it without getting up, and showed me how to stop it in case I should want to pause. Then he very thoughtfully took a chair, with his back to me, so that I might be as free as possible, and began to read. I put the forked metal to my ears, and listened. When the terrible story of Lucy's death and all that followed was done, I lay back in my chair, powerless. Fortunately, I am not of a fainting disposition. When Dr. Seward saw me, he jumped up with a horrified exclamation and, hurriedly taking a case bottle from a cupboard, gave me some brandy, which in a few minutes somewhat restored me.
Oh shit, oh shit, this woman's in distress, I gotta get her alcohol!
It's still so fucking funny to me that back in the day it was like, alright, a woman is experiencing the vapors. Hard liquor. Now, stat! You look like you need to get fucking shwasted. My brain was all in a whirl, and only that there came through all the multitude of horrors, the holy ray of light that my dear, dear Lucy was at last at peace. I do not think I could have borne it without making a scene. It's all so wild and mysterious and strange that if I had not known Jonathan's experience in Transylvania, I could not have believed. As it was, I didn't know what to believe, and so got out of my difficulty by attending to something else. I took the cover off my typewriter and said to Dr. Seward, "Let me write this all out now. We must be ready for Dr. Van Helsing when he comes. I've sent a telegram to Jonathan to come on here when he has arrived in London from Whitby. In this matter, dates are everything, and I think that if we get all our material ready and have every item put together in chronological order, we shall have done much. You tell me that Lord Godalming and Mr. Morris are coming too. Let us be able to tell him when they come." He accordingly set the phonograph at a slow pace, and I began to typewrite from the beginning of the 7th cylinder. I used manifold, and so took 3 copies of the diary, just as I had done with all the rest. It was late when I got through, but Dr. Seward went about his work of going his round of the patients. When he had finished, he came back and sat near me, reading, so that I did not feel too lonely whilst I worked. How good and thoughtful he is. The world seems full of good men, even if there are monsters in it. Before I left him, I remembered what Jonathan put in his diary of the professor's perturbation at reading something in an evening paper at the station at Exeter. So, seeing that Dr. Seward kept his newspapers, I borrowed the files of the Westminster Gazette and the Pall Mall Gazette, and took them to my room. I remember how much the Daily Graph and the Whitby Gazette, of which I had made cuttings, helped us to understand the terrible events at Whitby when Count Dracula landed. So I shall look through the evening papers since then, and perhaps I shall get some new light. I am not sleepy, and the work will help me keep quiet. Will help to keep me quiet. It feels less weird when she uses the word sleepy, but even then, it's like, damn, that feels like an anachronism, but it's not, evidently. Mina Harker is effectively the Columbo of this universe. On that note, I gotta get up for a break. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna have my stretch. We are in this last leg of this chapter. That shouldn't take too long to wrap up, and then we'll wrap up the stream for tonight. I hope you've all been enjoying our return to Dracula. I'm real fucking glad to be back into the swing of this. I know I haven't been doing it because I haven't been feeling up to doing it or streaming in general, but man, I fucking missed this. I've missed my story times. Hopefully I'll be able to do it more often again. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna stretch. Refill my water. Do the same for yourself. Maybe have a little snack if you haven't in a while. It's been like 3 hours and a bit. It's coming along like 5 o'clock for me. So I'm getting a little hungry. You know, take care of yourself, etc., etc. You don't need me telling you that. I'm not your damn mom, but, you know, it's stretch time. We're just playing ads anyways, so you might as well, you know? We'll be back real soon.
"15 months and dang it, I missed chapter 15, didn't I?"
Oh, fuck. Oh, I have a salad. Oh, it's good. Oh. Oh. Oh.
It's pretty good. It's tomatoes and cucumber and feta dressing. This fucking song playing right now. I mentioned I just pulled up some fucking, like, copyright-free, royalty-free music to play kind of thing. This fucking song sounds like the one they play on YouTube when, like, a video is premiering or whatever while it's counting down. That type of shit. I want to try and put together, like, more and better music for next time I do a Dracula stream, but this has been fine, I guess. It's been background noise. It's been alright. I'm gonna keep eating my salad before we get to it. It's a good salad. I forgot that fucking PlayStation thing is tomorrow, isn't it? They're gonna announce... God. It's coming soon. To PlayStation. Bloodborne 3. Finally. Real. Bloodborne card is soon, at least? No, they had to file the Bloodborne off of that for legal reasons. Bloodborne card is never, is my understanding, but the soul remains. First you heard of it? Yeah, it only happened recently. Like, they were kind of expecting it to happen. And then it never happened for, like, all this time. And they were like, oh, huh, okay, whatever, well, let's keep going. And then, like, very shortly before their, like, planned release date, they got the C&D. Here's my understanding. And so they're like, okay, well, we're gonna keep doing this, but we legally have to take the Bloodborne off of it. Sucks. So now they're making happiness fun cars. The game where nothing is scary or crappy or weird. And it's not on Sony. And I love drinking water. There's a lot of people that were saying that they were going to announce some Sonic thing. Specifically because there was rumors of like a Generations remake. And the fact that there's a big Sonic sale, but Generations isn't on sale right now, or something like that. And I mostly just saw that in, like, the context of people going like, oh my god, what if something is bad? What if it's scary? And it's like, you know, not announced or out yet. What if anything is real? What would we do? Uh-oh. 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 Dracula. Uh-oh. 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 I finished eating my salad. I'm full of delicious cucumber energy. The soul of the cucumber has entered the duckling of my heart, and so we can keep reading Dracula. Let's finish this chapter and wrap up for the night. It's starting to get dark out. Had to turn a light on. Wonder when the next Nintendo Direct is? Never. Nintendo has gone under. No more Nintendo. No more games. No more trolls. No more rolling into a ball and eating rocks with your brothers. They got rid of it. They got rid of all of it in a bankruptcy foreclosure sale. Now we can only have Nintendo indirect. Right, you can't look directly at it, or it'll scald your retinas. Nintendo dead drops are coming soon. Nintendo carrier pigeons will soon be giving coded messages. You have to look forward to it. This is not a matter of please look forward to it. You must look forward to it. Excuse me. Well, Dr. Seward's diary.
Dr. Seward's diary. 30th of September. Mr. Harker arrived at 9 o'clock. He had got his wife's wire just before starting. He is uncommonly clever, if one can judge from his face, and full of energy. If this journal be true, and judging by one's own wonderful experiences it must be, he is also a man of great nerve. That going down to the vault a second time was a remarkable piece of daring. After reading his account of it, I was prepared to meet a good specimen of manhood, but hardly the quiet, business-like gentleman who came here today. Damn, this dude's kind of a shrimp. Kind of a wimpy nerd, but his diary makes him seem really fucking cool. What? What's the deal? That doesn't seem right. What? Later. After lunch, Harker and his wife went back to their own room, and as I passed a while ago, I heard the click of the typewriter. They are hard at it. Mrs. Harker says that they are knitting together in chronological order every scrap of evidence they have. Harker has got the letters between the consignee of the boxes at Whitby and the carriers in London who took charge of them. He is now reading his wife's typescript of my diary. I wonder what they make out of it. Here it is. Strange that it never struck me that the very next house might be the Count's hiding place. Goodness knows that we had enough clues from the conduct of the patient Renfield. The bundle of letters relating to the purchase of the house were with the typescript. Oh, if we had only had them earlier, we might have saved poor Lucy.
Stop.
That way madness lies. Harker has gone back and is again collating his material. He says that by dinner time they will be able to show a whole connected narrative. He thinks that in the meantime I should see Renfield, as hitherto he has been a sort of index to the coming and going of the Count. I hardly see this yet, but when I get all the dates, I suppose I shall. What a good thing that Mrs. Harker put my cylinders into type. We never could have found the dates otherwise.
They were literally neighbors. I think, from what I remember right, is that the manor that Dracula got was like, or manor, you know what I mean, was like relatively close to where Lucy was living. Not like literal neighbors, but like close. Which is why he was coming there to feed, because it was, you know, in his hunting grounds, his stomping grounds. It would be a little funny if they meant, like, literal actual neighbors. I don't think they do, but it would be pretty fucking funny. Close. Nearby. Dracula was living in her basement, and no one thought to look in the basement, and he was just like, hey, man, I'm living in your basement, blah. I'm using your internet, I'm hijacking your internet wire so I can run a blog, blah. I make $10 a month, blah. I'm not paying rent. I suck you, blah. He was doing that. Such a shame for him that he decided to set up shop within direct killing range of London's greatest detective's girlfriend. Oh, sucks for him.
I found Renfield.
Oh, right, yeah. He's near where the fucking, the asylum is, because Renfield was never running far. I guess that's what he means by neighbor, is he's neighbors with Seward. Good point.
I found Renfield sitting placidly in his room with his hands folded, smiling benignly. At the moment, he seemed as sane as anyone I ever saw. I sat down and talked with him on a lot of subjects, all of which he treated naturally. He then, of his own accord, spoke of going home, a subject he has never mentioned to my knowledge during his sojourn here. In fact, he spoke quite confidently of getting his discharge at once. I believe that, had I not had this chat with Harker and read the letters and the dates of his outbursts, I should have been prepared to sign for him after a brief time of observation. As it is, I am darkly suspicious. All those outbursts were in some way linked with the proximity of the Count. What then does this absolute content mean? Can it be that his instinct is satisfied as to the vampire's ultimate triumph? Stay. He is himself zoophagous, and in his wild ravings outside the chapel door of the deserted house, he always spoke of Master. This all seems confirmation of our idea. However, after a while I came away. My friend is just a little too sane at present to make it safe to probe him too deep with questions. He might begin to think, and then... So I came away. I mistrust these quiet moods of his, so I have given the attendant a hint to look closely after him, and to have a strait waistcoat ready in case of need.
Jonathan Harker's Journal. 29th of September, in train to London. When I received Mr. Billington's courteous message that he would give me any information in his power, I thought it best to go down to Whitby and make on the spot such inquiries as I wanted. It was now my object to trace that excuse me, I had a hiccup. That horrid cargo of the Count's to its place in London. Later we may be able to deal with it. Billington Jr., a nice lad, met me at the station and brought me to his father's house, where they had decided that I must stay the night. They are hospitable, with true Yorkshire hospitality. Give a guest everything and leave him free to do as he likes. They all knew that I was busy and that my stay was short, and Mr. Billington had ready in his office all the papers concerning the consignment of boxes.
It gave me almost a turn to see again one of the letters which I had seen on the Count's table before I knew of his diabolical plans. Everything had been carefully thought out, done systematically and with precision. He seemed to have been prepared for every obstacle which might be placed by accident in the way of his intentions being carried out. To use an Americanism, he had taken no chances, and the absolute accuracy with which his instructions were fulfilled was simply the logical result of his care. I saw the invoice and took notes of it. 50 cases of common earth to be used for experimental purposes. Also the copy of letter to Carter Paterson, and their reply. Of both of these I got copies. This was all the information Mr. Billington could give me, so I went down to the port and saw the coast guards, the customs officers, and the harbour master. They all had something to say of the strange entry of the ship, which is already taking its place in local tradition. But no one could add to the simple description. 50 cases of common earth. I then saw the station master, who kindly put me in communication with the men who had actually received the boxes. Their tally was exactly with the list, and they had nothing to add except that the boxes were main and mortal heavy, hale and hearty heavy, and that shifting them was dry work. One of them added that it was hard lines, that there weren't any gentlemen such like yourself, squire, to show some sort of appreciation of their efforts in a liquid form.
These dock workers fucking rule.
Another put in a rider that the thirst then generated was such that even the time which had elapsed had not completely allayed it. Needless to add, I took care before leaving to lift, or ever and adequately, this source of reproach. 30th of September. The station master was good enough to give me a line to his old companion, the station master at King's Cross, so that when I arrived there in the morning, I was able to ask him about the arrival of the boxes. He, too, put me at once in communication with the proper officials, and I saw that their tally was correct with the original invoice. The opportunities of acquiring an abnormal thirst had been here limited. A noble use of them had, however, been made, and again I was compelled to deal with the result in an ex post facto manner.
Hey, thank you, Team Egg Troop, for the raid. I hope you had yourself a wonderful stream today. We are just wrapping up this current chapter of Dracula. Thank you for joining us. We're on, like, what fucking chapter is this again? This is what? This is 18, so we're on 17. I can fucking count. Let's go. Yeah, what were you fine folks up to? I hope you had yourself a wonderful time today. I have lost my fucking place in the script because I have scrolled down. Help! Never mind, I think I found it. I found somewhere good enough, at least. Playing Pokemon? Fuck yeah. I hope it was good.
From thence, I went on to Carter Paterson's central office, where I met with the utmost courtesy. They looked up the transaction in their day book and letter book, and at once telephoned to their King's Cross office for more details. By good fortune, the men who did the teaming were waiting for work, and the official at once sent them over, sending also by one of them the way-bill and all the papers connected with the delivery of the boxes at Carfax. Here again I found the tally agreeing exactly. The carrier's men were able to supplement the
paucity. Does anyone know what this word means? I've literally never seen it in my entire fucking life. It has a really bad mouthfeel. I like it. Paucity.
Of the written words with a few details. These were, I shortly found, connected almost solely with the dusty nature of the job.
Small amount. Okay. Just a little bit. I see.
And of the consequent thirst engendered in the operators.
Yo, thank you, Churiel, for giving a gift sub out to Team Egg Troop. That's awful generous of you. I appreciate it. Where was I? Gender. That's where I was.
On my affording an opportunity, through the medium of the currency of the realm, of the allaying at a later period this beneficial evil, one of the men remarked,
That here house, governor, is the rummiest I was ever in. Blimey, but it ain't been touched since 100 years. There was dust that thick in the place, like you might have slept on it without hurting your bones. And a place that was neglected that here might have smelled old Jerusalem in it. But the old chapel, that took the cake, that did. Me and my mate, we thought we would never get out quick enough. Oh, Lord, I wouldn't take less nor a quid a moment to stay out after dark.
Having been in the house, I could well believe him. But if he knew what I know, he would, I think, have raised his terms. I do love Harker here just being like, damn right it sucked ass. If he knew more, he'd charge even more. Of one thing I am now satisfied, that all boxes which arrived at Whitby from Varna in the Demeter were safely deposited in the old chapel at Carfax. There should be 50 of them there, unless any have since been removed, as from Dr. Seward's diary, I fear. I shall try to see the carter who took away the boxes from Carfax when Renfield attacked them. By following up this clue, we may learn a good deal. Later. Mina and I have worked all day, and we have put all the papers into order. Okay, this last hunk is just Mina Harker's journal. Let's go. Let's go. It's Mina time. Mina Harker's journal. 30th of September. I am so glad that I hardly know how to contain myself. It is, I suppose, the reaction from the haunting fear which I have had, that this terrible affair and the reopening of his old wound might act detrimentally on Jonathan. I saw him leave for Whitby with his brave... I didn't say 38th September, I said 30th September. Not 38th. Different. Fucking different. Get their ass. Where was I? I saw him leave for Whitby with as brave a face as I could, but I was sick with apprehension. The effort has, however, done him good. He was never so resolute, never so strong, never so full of volcanicity as at present. It is just as that dear good Professor Van Helsing said. He is true grit, and he improves under strain that would kill a weaker nature. He came back full of life and hope and determination. We have got everything in order for tonight. I feel myself quite wild with excitement. I suppose one ought to pity anything so hunted as is the Count. That is just it. This thing. That's the wrong image. Hang on. I forgot I changed the image. Hang on. Bit is on hold. Bit is on hold. That this thing is not human. Not even beast. To read Dr. Seward's account of poor Lucy's death and what followed is enough to dry up the springs of pity in one's heart. Later. Lord Godalming and Mr. Morris arrived earlier than we expected. Dr. Seward was out on business and had taken Jonathan with him, so I had to see them. It was to me a painful meeting, for it brought back all poor dear Lucy's hopes of only a few months ago. Of course they had heard Lucy speak of me, and it seemed that Dr. Van Helsing too had been quite blowing my trumpet, as Dr. Morris expressed it. As Mr. Morris expressed it. Oh, poor fellows. Neither of them is aware that I know all about the proposals they made to Lucy. They did not quite know what to say or do, as they were ignorant of the amount of my knowledge. So they had to keep on neutral subjects. However, I thought the matter over and came to the conclusion that the best thing I could do would be to post them in affairs right up to date. I knew from Dr. Seward's diary that they had been at Lucy's death, her real death, and that I needed not fear to betray any secret before the time. So I told them as well as I could that I had read all the papers and diaries, and that my husband and I, having typewritten them, had just finished putting them in order. I gave them each a copy to read in the library. When Lord Godalming got his and turned it over, "It does make a pretty good pile," he said.
Did you write all this, Mrs. Harker?
I nodded and went on. And he went on.
I don't quite see the drift of it, but you people are all so good and kind and have been working so earnestly and so energetically that all I can do is accept your ideas blindfolded and try to help you. I have had one lesson already in accepting facts that should make a man humble in the last hour of his life. Besides, I know you loved my poor Lucy.
Here he turned away and covered his face with his hands. I could hear the tears in his voice. Mr. Morris, with instinctive delicacy, just laid a hand for a moment on his shoulder, and then walked quietly out of the room. I suppose there is something in woman's nature that makes a man free to break down before her and express his feelings on the tender or emotional side, without feeling it derogatory to his manhood. Bro, you don't have to just do that to a woman, you know. Like, Quincy is out here like, it's okay, man. I got you. We're all here in this together. You can cry to me anytime you want. I love you, man. You don't gotta just unload that on any random woman you meet just because they knew your wife. Like, sorry, you're in mourning or whatever, but... For when Lord Godalming found himself alone with me, he sat down on the sofa and gave way utterly and openly. I sat down beside him and took his hand. I hope he didn't think it forward of me, and that if he ever thinks of it afterwards, he will never have such a thought. There I wrong him. I know he never will. He is too true a gentleman. I said to him, for I could see that his heart was breaking.
I loved dear Lucy, and I know what she was to you and what you were to her.
Oh no, this is Mina saying this. Sorry, she changed her voice for a second. I loved dear Lucy, and I know what she was to you and what you were to her. She and I were like sisters, and now she is gone. Will you not let me be like a sister to you in your trouble? I know what sorrows you have had, though I cannot measure the depth of them. If sympathy and pity can help in your affliction, won't you let me be of some little service? For Lucy's sake? In an instant, the poor dear fellow was overwhelmed with grief. It seemed to me that all he had of late been suffering in silence found a vent at once. He grew quite hysterical, and raising his open hands, beat his palms together in a perfect agony of grief. He stood up and then sat down again, and the tears rained down his cheeks. I felt an infinite pity for him, and opened my arms unthinkingly. With a sob, he laid his head on my shoulder and cried like a wearied child, whilst he shook with emotion. We women have something of the mother in us that makes us rise above smaller matters when the mother spirit is invoked. I felt this big, sorrowing man's head resting on me as though it was that of the baby that someday may lie on my bosom, and I stroked his hair as though he were my own child. I never thought at the time how strange it all was. After a little bit, his sobs ceased, and he raised himself with an apology, though he made no disguise of his emotion. He told me that for days and nights past, weary days and sleepless nights, he had been unable to speak with anyone, as a man must speak in his time of sorrow. There was no woman whose sympathy could be given to him, or with whom, owing the terrible circumstances with which his sorrow was surrounded, he could speak freely.
I know now how I suffered,
he said, as he dried his eyes,
but I do not know even yet, and none other can ever know, how much your sweet sympathy has been to me today. I shall know better in time, and believe me that, though I am not ungrateful now, my gratitude will grow with my understanding. You will let me be like a brother, will you not? For all our lives. For dear Lucy's sake.
For dear Lucy's sake, I said as we clasped hands.
Aye, and for your own sake, he added, for if a man's esteem and gratitude are ever worth the winning, you have won mine today. If ever the future should bring to you a time when you need a man's help, believe me, you will not call in vain. God grant that no such time may ever come to you to break the sunshine of your life. But if it should ever come, promise me that you will let me know.
He was so earnest, and his sorrow was so fresh, that I felt it would comfort him. So I said, I promise. As I came along the corridor, I saw Mr. Morris looking out a window. He turned as he heard my footsteps.
How is Art?
He said. Then noticing my red eyes, he went on.
I see you've been comforting him. Poor old fella, he needs it. No one but a woman can help a man when he's in trouble of the heart. Yet no one to comfort him.
He bore his own trouble so bravely that my heart bled for him. I saw the manuscript in his hand, and I knew that when he read it, he would realize how much I knew. So I said to him, I wish I could comfort all who suffer from the heart. Will you let me be your friend, and will you come to me for comfort if you need it? You will know later on why I speak. He saw that I was in earnest, and stooping, took my hand, and raised it to his lips and kissed it. It seemed but poor comfort to so brave and unselfish a soul, and impulsively I bent over and kissed him. The tears rose in his eyes, and there was a momentary choking in his throat. And he said quite calmly,
Little girl, you will never regret that true-hearted kindness, so long as you ever live.
And he went into the study to find his friend. Little girl. The very words he had used to Lucy, and oh, but he proved himself a friend. And that's the chapter. So I reckon that'll do it for Dracula today. Hopefully on Thursday, we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling on Thursday, but hopefully on Thursday. More Dracula, more Dracula. I'd like to read more real soon. It is a bit of a relief to not end on like a chapter-ending, world-shaking tragedy, isn't it? I mean, the circumstances are very sad. It's a sad book about sad things happening to people, but it's nice to have a moment like this, isn't it? Good stopping point for the day. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thanks for listening to some Dracula with me. I do always look forward to these streams. Hopefully more real soon. Thank you for all the subs, and the resubs, and the raids, and the tips, and all that we had today. Your very generous support always means the world to me. Thanks for helping to keep the lights on. More streams this week, hopefully. You'll see announcements on when they happen in the Discord. Check out the Discord if you're not already, if you want those. But maybe I'll see you next stream. Or maybe I'll see you around some other time, but no matter what happens before we head off, I'd just like to say, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I thank you all very much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and taking care of the folks around you. And I hope we see you again soon. Bye-bye!
or Hotmail. Kirby is a paying guy. 1, 2 or Hotmail because Kirby is very cute. 1, 2 or Hotmail. Kirby is a paying guy. 1, 2 or Hotmail because Kirby is very cute.
Ravioli.
Spaghetti.
Game over. 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 Hello. Here we go. I'm tired. It's me, Mario. Let's go. Mamma mia. Mario! 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 Mamma mia! Okie dokie! Press start to play. Press start. Play. Press start to play. So long, Bowser. So long, Bowser. Thank you so much to playing my game. Press start to play.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I've baked a cake for you.